I just want to just kind of lay out the first two chapters based on my highlights. And I did this specifically because I'm not giving you the whole book, but I am giving you more or less what I feel like are the quote unquote highlights. So the book that we are reviewing is Becoming Like God, Kabbalah and Our Ultimate Destiny by Michael Berg. As Chica mentioned, I did not hear about this book. I didn't know this book existed. To a nice young lady came onto my YouTube channel and said, "Well, I had this bright idea. Something came over me to upload my Kabbalah courses that I was doing earlier last year in the summer. I kicked off Alchemic Academic by really teaching on the Kabbalah, but then I kind of brought that into chakras, and then from chakras got into shadow work, from shadow work got into law of attraction, then got back to the first class where I was talking straight up DNA, straight up Kabbalah. And when I uploaded those old courses to my YouTube page, a young lady had commented and said, "This reminds me of this book called Becoming Like God, Kabbalah and Our Ultimate Destiny. You should do a book review on it." And I said, I hit her with a bullseye emoji, like, I will. And so once I got the book, I was actually feeling like, no, I wasn't feeling like shit. I was angry. And my son came downstairs and he was playing a game and he was hiding a book behind his back. And I was like, stop playing. And so he stopped playing. He gave me the book. And then I instantly started to feel a little bit better and started moving towards healing and started really repairing and doing a lot of soul work from reading the book and behind of all of the stuff that I was doing. So here we are. I read the book probably, I would say 2 times, but I'm going probably on my third time, but then I skim it and scam it. But this is it. I don't think it's like the best book ever, but it definitely was the book that I needed when I needed it at this particular time. And I hear a lot of stuff online. I hear a lot of people say what you should do versus what you shouldn't do. And to me, it sounds foolish after reading this book. To me, the only thing that we must do is move closer to becoming like God. And since it isn't being God, we are always perpetually without permanence, without becoming a statue, becoming like God. So the first analogy that comes in the book, when the book is like the first thing that the book talks about, and people have referenced in the chat already, the mountain and the rock. And reading this, it charged me. It revitalized me because I've heard Bobby Hemmett say, if you put a cup in the ocean, the contents of that cup are the same contents within that ocean. I've heard that before, and I resonated with that. The mountain and the rock, just something it hit different for some reason. Whereas the understanding of the rock to be lifeless, without hope, without any type of support, has the same static electricity of a mountain, the same mineral energy, the same diamonds, the same ore, the same volcanic ash, the same energy of a mountain that rock has. He goes in to explain that the rock existence is determined not by its substance, but by its relation to the mountain that is its source. So, what is this saying at a human level is that humans are exactly the same essence as God. You might call that blasphemous. You might say that that is wrong, but in reference to your understanding, if you can't wrap your mind around this in chapter 1, it's going to be a hard time reading the rest of the book. And even deeper, we will forget, as we have stated in the opening chat, we will forget the fact that we have the same essence as God. Humans are like God. So what blocks us from that? As it Kara said, our desire to receive for the self alone. Now, for a majority of people that I talk to when I'm doing readings or I'm doing counseling sessions or just saying hello to people at the grocery store, They only have the desire to receive for the self of alone. Some of our mamas and our daddies, our grandmas and our grandpappies have this simple desire to receive for the self and for the self alone. And this is known as the ego and the source of all of our pain and suffering. Pretty simple formula, pretty simple understanding to kick off the book. And so as I'm reading it and I'm processing it, it's clicking for me. Because I might get to a point where I'm like, man, I'm tired of doing videos. I'm tired of sharing on social media or that. But then it's like, people will come in my DMs or people will come in my email and people will be like, thank you for your video that you did. Thank you. I was at a dark place and you don't know how much your videos helped me. My wife was just talking to a lady from the insurance, didn't even know that was my wife, was talking about how her mama died, her grandma died, and I was the only one that helped her through the transition of her mom and her grandma. She said she just listened to my videos when she go to sleep. It helped her somehow. So I'm not saying that to pat myself on the corner or on the back, because at the same time, I might be standing on the corner asking for change, because doing this work is not to say that you're going to be rich and famous, but it's also saying that I don't simply desire to receive for the self and the self alone. And even when I do, I have to move myself out of that. Overcoming the ego will reveal your true essence and become like God. And so essentially, that's the first chapter, really trying to connect your mind and your essence to God. Now, we're super conscious, we're super woke, so you might feel like you're already there. But I tell you, for people who don't listen to Bobby or panic or, dream wise and things like that, they don't have the idea that they are chaos being or like God. They really feel like God is somewhere on a mountain living it up, and we down here struggling. But if you can conceptualize and meditate, and I'm telling you, just read in the first chapter, if you can meditate on the fact that you have the same essence of God, you can begin to progress and grow. Ultimately, if you think you're a weak, pain, suffering, ego human being trying to just get what you need to get out of life, then it's going to be difficult. So the second chapter is called A Crack in the Prison Door. And after this chapter, I'll be finished. He starts off by saying that one must realize that the desire to receive for the self alone is a prison. Essentially, this crack is understanding that God is within us. And ultimately, everything within that understanding deserves a technology associated with it. To explain that a little deeper from my perspective, to become like God would have some form of understanding attached with it, as opposed to just saying, okay, I'm just becoming like God. I'm gonna just randomly become like God. Like you could just randomly become an accountant. You can't randomly become a bus driver. You can't randomly become a teller at Kmart. So you're not randomly going to become like God, as opposed to understanding Kabbalah. Now, at first, all spiritual technology is confusing. And as adults, your ability to want to learn would be your ability to understand Kabbalah. All I can say is be patient. Don't try to learn it all in one day, but just be patient as you try to understand it. Why? Because Kabbalah is not a religion, but rather a technology that predates religion, as was stated in the book. So understanding Kabbalah, understanding your inner technology, understanding your inner God, the God within you, ultimately, we have a prison guard. We have an opponent. And what is the opponent? The opponent is the negative force, the desire to receive for the self alone. He says this a lot in the book, and I've said this a lot within this presentation, because essentially it's pervasive. Essentially, it is ubiquitous. Essentially, it's the part of you that says, what about me? Why haven't I got with everything that I've gotten? I should have more. And in that space, you are knee deep into the opponent. And it doesn't come dressed in the clothes of an enemy. It comes dressed in the clothes of a friend. So it's a positive energy within yourself, the opponent, although it be in the ego, the part of you that says, what about me? And ultimately, what is the opponent? It is a subconscious program to oppose every effort that we make to change. So essentially, we may say, what is my problem when we're alone by ourselves? If we having a real conversation with ourselves, imagine all of the external shit, all of the money made. You're really trying to figure out what the fuck, right? It is a subconscious program within ourselves. And so if we can't tune into the level of us being God, then ultimately we're essentially letting the opponent win. And it's very subtle. It's not going to hit you with a sledgehammer, it's going to rock you to sleep. What is this? Essentially, this book gets into some very deep territory, such as living forever, right? And in order to live forever, you would have to be opposite of getting old and dying and things of that nature. So essentially, one can get rather old and get to a point where you are just living life, thinking about yourself every single day, thinking that everything is fine. But at the end of the day, the opponent is winning because you're not in a space where you're able to share. Now, that's later in the other chapters, and he gets into more of the science of becoming God. I'm not going, one of the chapters I'll end on this is certainty. And certainty is how we can understand, like, if you become like God, you have to be certain in your ability to become like God. And sometimes, in reference to that understanding, like some people naturally can feel like they are supernatural beings, but for the most of us, we are following our parents, we're following society, and we don't actually know that we have a lot more power. But ultimately, we would have to have this conversation. Y'all would have to read the book, get into this conversation, because what are we essentially doing when we tap into this power? We are tapping into the science of making the unthinkable a reality. This is our supreme journey from prisoner to God. And I feel so excited about being on this journey with y'all that I would just hope that, y'all would read the book, take it seriously, and utilize it within y'all families, within y'all communities, and then within y'all everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, this is it. You know what I'm saying? This is a very powerful book, a very powerful share, and it's so powerful that I couldn't necessarily read it by myself. So, with that being said, are there any questions, comments, or concerns? And then ultimately, when would be a good day? Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, so I don't know if this is gonna work for real. I'm just trying something out because my phone going to die, and I just want to be able to tap in with y'all if I need to. So far, so good. Yeah, it's gonna do that. I don't need that in my life. I don't need that energy. Nope, don't need it. So, thank y'all for joining me. Peace, 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 peace. All right, all right, all right. So, yes, becoming like God, Kabbalah, and our ultimate destiny. I did have the link in the description, or I did have the link pasted, or whatever the case may be, but it just seemed like, with me, shit is always weird. So, it ain't no different from now and then, right? Because I scheduled a video, and this ain't the video that I scheduled. So, let me do some maintenance real quick. Make sure people is not watching a video that's not even online. And let's get this shit tapped in and tuned in. Hope everybody is doing well. Have a wonderful conversation planned for you guys. Be sure to join me at the mystery school, where we tune in and tap into things like this all of the time. So I've been necessarily going through a lot of things, positive and negative, but at the same time, it's all resulting into overall positive and high vibrations. The reason I feel like everything in my life personally is working out favorably is specifically because I've read this book. Now, I don't think that it's just this book alone. I think it's in combination with a lot of other things that I've talked about, that I've understood. But this book is so phenomenal that I feel like every Wednesday I'm going to read books. I'm going to share books because I'm not just about to read a book. Reading a book to me is like, I had a picture. Oh, here it goes. And I'll talk about this a little later. But reading a book, just passively reading a book, is like driving down the highway, driving down the interstate. And just because I drove down the interstate, that's true, I did drive down the interstate, but what was at mile marker 865? A person might say, well, I don't know it's at mile marker 865, Hood. I was driving down there, but I just don't remember. Tell me, what was at mile 865? Meaning that if you don't take notes on the shit that you read, yeah, you read it, but did it sink in? Did it impact you? Can you apply the information? So I'm just creating good habits in reference to learning information as opposed to just reading shit and not talking about it. I attempt to do this in the mystery school, but people have busy schedules, and and I know why. Like, it's free, so generally people don't want to pay attention to things that are free. I don't know what's wrong in the brain. That's just how shit is. However, I'll just do the video on YouTube and talk about it here. And then as we build up more energy, more cachet, maybe people will begin to tune in and tap into the literature very seriously, because I can't make people want to take information seriously. I can't make people want to take spirituality seriously. I can't make people realize that the power is within them. Obviously, when I say it, it's almost as if I'm lying or I'm saying some ill shit in reference to you. It seems as though people would rather me talk about how white people are supremacists and how black people are inferior, and let's just talk about that. So many times I try to watch videos and support my people, but it's just so much victim mentality within their words, within their conversations, and then they'll bring somebody on and then they'll just talk about what they are doing, what the enemy is doing. But I know for a fact that we are gods. I know for a fact that everything that's presented to us on the surface is a lie. I know for a fact that they don't talk about our ancient history or her story for a reason. They want to tell us everything. They want to teach us. We come up in their schools. We come up in their universities. We get taught by them. And then we want to call them the enemy. And don't even look at our mind and understand the problems that we have in really learning who we are. Because the information is just not out there. The information that's out there is there to keep you inferior. So I'm having conversations that bring us to superiority of our spirituality and also the applications and formulas. And I'm also passing out the literature that will assist us in, becoming like God, understanding Kabbalah, and removing the mumbo jumbo. So I'm just going to blow through this. And if you have any additional questions, comments, or concerns, hit me up on the email. Purchase the book. The link is pinned, and I'll have the link also in my description. Book is like $10. The man should have charged $500 for the book, so black people will find it important. The fact that it's $10, our psychosis, we don't find value in things that aren't expensive. So I don't know why that is, but I'm just not that way. So let's get into it. Last week, we talked about the mountain and the rock, which was the preface. Chapter 1 was talking about the crack in the prison door. and then chapter 2 through 7, which we will be getting into today. If you want to tune in and tap into what we were talking about in the previous conversations, please check the video Becoming Like God, chapters 1 and 2. So today we're going to have more of an expansive talk. Today we're going to get into the meat of the book, and the chapters that we'll be discussing is chapter 3, God disguised as you, chapter 4, certainty, chapter 5, the God formula, chapter 6, your life changes now, and chapter 7, in death shall have no dominion. This is super heavy shit. However, I hope that you guys tune in and tap into it because it is highly transformational. And that was hold on. These chapters are confusing, so don't even worry about the numbers. God disguises you as a chapter, certainty, the God formula, your life changes now, death shall have no dominion, and then finally, the opponent, the stuff death is made of. So without further ado, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this book. And of course, I would hope that y'all would read the book and have some deeper downloads than I'm presenting and have a deeper conversation than I'm having. Because at the end of the day, I just hope that us as melanated Atlanteans tune in and tap into the Kabbalistic technology of our soul. We're not talking about religious ideologies. We're talking about how to become like God and not to become inferior, not to become a person that feels like I have to do this and I have to do that. And if I don't do this, something bad is going to happen. A lot of it could be trauma centers and trauma bonds and trauma understandings. And these are references to the opponent or the enemy. But the idea is that the enemy or opponent is not the white man. It is you, my brother. It is you, my sister. Okay, so let's get into it. I know that's very provocative in conscious communities because conscious people swear up and down that white people has done something bad to them, and because they done did something bad to them, it's time to get back at them. As opposed, that's what inferiority complexes do. It makes you feel militaristic. It makes you feel like you have to avenge somebody or something for some evil, but you can't even put a name on it. And if you is gonna put a name on it, you ain't going catch up to them in the streets. You're not going to run up in Jeff Bezos in the streets. You're not going to run up in Bill Gates' house. So why are we going to talk about these people and literally mythologize them in reference to who should we actually be mythologizing? We should mythologize ourselves or mythologize the people within our community, because God is you. God is me. God is us. God is we. God are the people. But we do not find God within ourselves. Essentially, we find God in the external and things like that. So when we talk about God being you, greatness is not reserved for the great. Greatness is reserved for your particular destiny. Now, when you say, I'm having a bad time, I'm having a bad life, I'm not doing it right, I'm afraid the white man gonna get me, everything is bullshit, and you have all of these particular things that are perpetually negative, essentially, you get up every day and you put into your GPS, boop, 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 boop. And your GPS is like, you sure you want to go to bullshit land? And you like, yeah, I want to go to bullshit land. All right, let's go to bullshit land. And so every day you just driving through bullshit land. And you like, I hate driving through bullshit land. I hate this community. I hate these people. But you didn't even program your GPS to go around people that you love. So essentially, destiny is our spiritual GPS. It is how we prepare for our lives or how lives are going to happen, because fate is a over archonic way of thinking that something random is going to happen to me. Well, that's you being inferior. That's you being tuned in and tapped into the enemy's education system. We can't be educated by the enemy, family, and then call him the enemy. That don't make sense. That don't make sense. So where you feel validated in your education, in your financial life, that's not destiny. Destiny is taking control over how things are going to be by living in a specific purpose, through a specific intent, moving in a specific fate, a specific destiny. So destiny and destination are used by the same root word. So it doesn't have to be that deep. You never got into your car and said, GPS, I don't give a fuck where you lead me to. Just take me somewhere. So if you're not cavalier with your GPS, why in the fuck would you be that cavalier over your life and over your spiritual understanding? When I tell you that God is within you, when I tell my wife that God is within her, I'm not telling y'all some shit that's just like, oh, that's an interesting concept to it. That's real deep. I like that concept, and then just act like shit. No, there is some shit that is taking place. You are extremely powerful, okay? But the rising of the Kundalini is equated to a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. Before, in the first butterfly that ever transformed, that motherfucker had to be called Jesus, right? Imagine the caterpillars going into a cocoon, the 3-day tomb Jesus went into, and then he emerged out of that tomb transmogrified. That was the word that they used to describe a person who was a human being, but they were something else. They were divine. Okay? They were a divine human being. And a caterpillar and a butterfly are different, but they are the same. You can bear witness to this. So in understanding your destiny, it wouldn't serve you as a caterpillar to say, I want a bubble-eyed Benz on 20-inch rims as a caterpillar. That wouldn't be the goal as a caterpillar. It wouldn't be the goal to get a mansion so your caterpillar family can live in. That would never be the goal. It would never, ever be the goal if you were a caterpillar. Why am I saying that? As a human, it is never a goal to worry about what the fuck is going on around in this shit. The goal is to transform into something greater, into something higher. It is to transform into a butterfly. So whatever is happening in the caterpillar world, it does not fucking matter. It never will matter. You never hear about butterflies like you heard what happened to goddamn Roscoe ass. You talk about Caterpillar Rollo over on the west side? Yeah. Goddamn got stepped on. He got stepped on? Hell yeah. I told him, don't be in the city like that. You stay in basements and you stay in the grass, man. What'd he do? He seen some goddamn chicken crumbs on the ground. He seen some chicken wing crumbs on the ground. Damn. Shit. That's crazy, man. All right, man. I'm about to fly up out this bitch, man. I'll holler at you, though. Right? So essentially, when we are human beings, and as spiritual human beings, we can't essentially use our magic, use our mojo for bubble-eye Benz, 20-inch rims, mansions, caterpillars with big booties, things of that nature. We are going for complete transformation. And shout out to ELE Bespoke for the donation. Shout out to Peace Dealer for the donation. I really appreciate the energy because it's just keeping me on my toes to provide better content every time I step up on this mic. You feel me? So thank y'all for the donations. And the donations, I don't take them to heart. I don't take them to head. I take them to a point where I got to keep going hard and deliver this information because in my heart, I feel like my people need it. I feel like I need it in reference to we are gods. We are not inferior. We are not, and it's a lot of CIA bullshit in reference to conscious people getting put on the forefront and put on a pedestal, and they be just like fuck niggas, right? So when you watch it, I was watching this video and they had Umar Johnson talking about the root chakra, right? The root chakra, your ability to ground and connect to source, right? But they saying it like, listen to this clown ass nigga talking about the root chakra. So it's a lot of restoration work that we have to do and revalidate and re-verify that consciousness for Black people is essential. Because in reference to what will save us, it will be our living souls. It will not be some white man's God, nor will it be some white man's education. Because if we tune in and tap into that, that is destruction. Now, they'll give you the tools. They'll give you everything you need to destroy yourself. They'll give you the money. They'll give you the isolation. They'll give you the prison walls. They'll give you the prison guards, and you'll feel safe within their fucking man-made prisons. So essentially, it is time to elevate in our understanding or conversations on what needs to take place. We need to deify ourselves and transform ourselves and actually see what it looks like to not just be a regular human, but to be a divine being having a simple human experience. And, you know, what will tend to happen is we don't know because we probably haven't seen that as of yet. So the thing about destiny is that it does not come to you. You have to come to it. But in reference to destiny, in reference to taking control of your life, people just want caterpillar shit. So it gets kind of confusing. You want a caterpillar wife, you want caterpillar kids. And in reference to spiritual elevation, spiritual understanding, it's extremely, supremely personal. It's super personal. So essentially, what are we doing in life before we come into consciousness? For a majority of us, we spend it in dullness and boredom. Why do we feel dull? Why do we feel bored? Because we have the potential to be gods. Essentially, we have the potential to be a caterpillar. The potential to be a butterfly. Every caterpillar had the potential to be a butterfly, but that butterfly had to specifically go within himself to find that energy which allows them to bring forth this wondrous beauty and remarkable ability that of to take flight. It's amazing how a bug can just turn into an insect from a process of catharsis, a process of allowing their parasympathetic system to take over. Meaning that, you know how you can be lazy and you feel like you chilling, but then some shit happened and you realize you just been lazy for real? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an energy of knowing that you are doing the right thing. Now, doing the right thing is a level of meditation. However, if you know for a fact if you're doing the right thing because of how you feel. Sometimes people work so hard to be lazy and they'll just be like, shit, I worked hard for this. In reference to them being lazy, now they got to wake up on Monday and get back to that fucking check. Because if they stay in that lazy state, they'll never have anything coming in. So you have to really start asking yourself, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? What am I getting in return for the things that I'm doing? And is there anything that I could be doing differently? And so let's just talk about this. If you are not doing what you're supposed to do, you'll never be fully content, satisfied, or in a space of joy. Because the point of you to come down here was to transform. The point of you to come down here was not to exalt the ego. That would be the fucking king of caterpillars. And imagining that he is the height of heights, living the life that he's supposed to live. And then you as a caterpillar looking at the king of caterpillars and thinking that this is where you're supposed to be. The reality of where we're supposed to be, we should be tuned in and tapped into higher celestial consciousness. This is where you get into knowledge, gnosis, research, reading text, tapping into energy, following your intuition, reading books that resonate with you, applying the methods and things of that nature. But it seems to me that y'all do not get geeked and happy when it comes to yourselves. It seems to me that y'all can only muster the happiness and joy when it comes to an external event. So the deeper things are, if your thoughts are not taking you towards God, then you need to change. Now, God is not the nigga that y'all pray to in church. This is not a Christianity. This is not a religious. This is a technology. If a healthy person can transition, that means that health isn't a substance of life. We know that our grandmother will eat pork, will drink liquor, will smoke cigarettes, and she will be 80 plus. And then it's another person who is healthy, worked out, walked outside, and a damn bathtub fell on top of his head. And now he's like, damn, he's in heaven. Like, I worked out. I did all of these things for my human life to be better. And it still didn't give me the satisfaction or the contentment of the hereafter. I feel like something was missing. I feel like I was robbed and I was cheated. Essentially, I would say 99.99999999999% of us have not been told that God was not external, God was internal. And the point of our lives every single fucking day was to not sit and watch BET videos and fucking jack off or fucking watch fucking movies and binge watch movies and then read books and do all of this existential bullshit. And this whole time we could have been cultivating the God force energy within ourselves. Right? So if your thoughts are not taking you to that place, then you need to fucking change. You need to stop where you're going and move it to within yourself. Because there is no way you're sitting here listening to this video and not your God within you is not making your ass listen to this video. And say, no, bitch, you gonna honor me today. You gonna talk to me today. You gonna focus on me today. Because every single day you worried about Jermaine's ass and you worried about Charmaine's ass. But never worried about me. No, bitch, keep your eyes on me. Okay? And as long as you keep your eyes on your inner God, nothing wrong can happen to you. Because what? That will then be your programmed destination of activation of transformation. We are trapped in a paradigm of insignificance, and what we say does not matter. We are isolated, separate, finite. We are rocks. But as we talked about earlier in our previous video, the mountain and the rock are essentially the same. The rock is just a free-form version of the mountain. So the human is just a free-form version of God. And we've been sent into a tizzy, my black family. Because within our families, our parents will say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. And if you don't do this, and if you don't do that, you're going to be fucked up. But then when you travel the world, it's just motherfuckers doing shit. Motherfucker over here, motherfucker over there, motherfucker driving the truck. Just a world full of motherfuckers doing motherfucking shit. But then black people just sit here and just be like, you know what? I gotta go to the club tonight. I gotta get some goddamn Amiris. Or my day ain't right. How the fuck? You gotta get some Amiris and they got plumbing workshops down the block. They got electrician schools over here. They got entrepreneur workshops. But you gotta get some damn Amiris. And what the fuck is a Murray? What the fuck is a Montclair? What the fuck is a Versace? Ask us, we know. Because essentially, we care so much about the external that we do not tune in and tap into our internal. So, obviously, you get to a point where I feel like life is cheating me. I feel like life is I feel like this is unfair. I'm not getting the things that I want out of life. Well, have you tuned into your inner God? No, I've been tuning to everything else around me. What God inside of me are you fucking talking about, hood? You keep saying it. I don't know that God exists within me. I thought God was in the church. I ain't gonna cap to you. Why? Let me just be honest. I went to church hood. I never caught the Holy Ghost hood. I figured God just wasn't in me. I just wasn't spiritual hood. I couldn't speak in tongues hood. I wasn't a pastor hood. I wasn't part of the deacon board. I wasn't part of the usher. So I was just in the pews. That means I'm insignificant. But every thought that you have toward your God force is essentially the butterfly effect. You influence the collective being, and I don't know what the fuck y'all gonna do, honestly. I hope that y'all tune into y'all God force energy, but maybe I think that I be speaking clearly and fluently, but maybe it could be I could fast forward 20 years from now, look at these videos, and I'm thinking that I'm speaking English. Whole time I'm saying jibber jabber. I'm just like blah 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 blah, and niggas just watching the video, and I ain't making no fucking sense. But in my mind, I just feel like I'm making all of the sense in the world. I don't fucking know. Okay? So essentially, each time you tune in to your God force energy, you change the collective being, but it's not to put nobody on the pedestal. It's for you to move closer to the God within yourself. And as you do this, you develop what is called certainty. And the idea is to be so clear, so tuned into the truth that God lives within you, that this is the thing that you fucking hammer down, double down, triple down, get foundation, find some cement, get some goddamn stakes, get some more shit, get some weights. What else we need? We need some anvils, we need some goddamn equipment. What we need all of this equipment for? I'm about to bring the certainty that God lives within me, and I have to talk about this shit. Because essentially, having this conversation with y'all, watching this video, it feels good. But soon as your mama start talking about shit that you did in 1984, 1988, you have fucking diapers on. Yeah, you used to be a fucking da-da-da-da-da. Now you in your feelings. You don't like your mama. Now you're just like, fuck everything. The reality is that you're not moving closer to God, and you're not certain on this fact. And essentially, I can only speak for myself. Opening up this can of worms, you will be attacked on top of attacked. But it's not necessarily you attacking, getting attacked. It is a part of you that is rejecting the fact that you're coming into truth. Because within you is an enemy and is an opponent. And because you can't deal with it, it's the white man, it's black men, it's black women, it's white women, it's Karen. It's all of these external entities that you can't even put a fucking name on. Right? You just have a particular energy that is within you. Because generalizations are never the truth. They are complete generalizations and ideas that human beings just hold on to. Black men ain't shit. And then you can go to sleep at night. Black men ain't shit. And now you can go to sleep at night. That's a comforting thought. As opposed to, you ain't shit and black people are your fucking scapegoats, or black men are your scapegoats, or white men are your scapegoats. You don't want this truth. You don't want this information because you want to go to sleep at night. You don't want to look into the mirror and correct yourself. And how would you correct yourself? You would take all of your energy, all of your thoughts, all of your actions, and redirect it to the God within. You say, fuck whatever happened yesterday. I need to be corrected, and then I'll move. But until I tap into my God force energy, I've been moving all fucking crazy. I've been trying to find God in Jermaine, and it's just not working, hood. Why is he not showed up? Let me leave Jermaine's ass alone. So when we enter the world, our spiritual selves, our soul is forgotten. Our mom tells us, your name is Jermaine. Our friends tell us you need at least 2 women or you ain't a player. Our principal tell us we can't read at a 12th grade level. We should have went back to the 3rd grade and start reading Cat in the Hat again. All things that you hear in reference to the physical vessel. Nobody says to Jermaine, that beautiful soul that you have. Make sure you tune in and tap into that soul, because we need that. Your children are going to need that. Your family is going to need that. Your community is going to need your God force energy. But if we don't tap into a level of being completely certain to understand it as a fact that God exists within us, and namaste, the God in me recognizes the God in you. Within India and Hindu, this is a regular saying that people just say to people, hey, how you doing? Right? We say, hey, how you doing? Not namaste. The God in me recognizes the God in you. That is a powerful statement. That is a powerful energy. And essentially, when you say namaste, you're also saying, I didn't forget. When I go to mounds, I'm being compelled to say to my ancestors, I haven't forgot you. I haven't forgot all that we've been through to get to this place. And the connection between you and your ancestors is stronger than ever, but you have to be certain. If you're not really sure, then it's hard to invest the energy into your God force energy. Certainty activates your God first energy, because I ain't never seen a person that say, I don't know if I'm that good at basketball. Just give me a ball. I'll see, man. I just don't know. Ass get washed on the court. But the person that say, man, I'm nice. I've been hooping. I'm nice. I'm about to dust you. He may or may not, but essentially, you got to be certain. Like Michael Jordan got to be certain when he's shooting that shot at the last second that is going in, or the nigga not shooting it. He going to pass it to somebody else. When we are completely certain, we become like God. Now, everything that I'm saying, there's a complete resistance to this. And if you don't honor and recognize the resistance to the statement that I'm saying, you're like, Hood, I feel you. And I'm not going to honor the feelings that I feel opposite to what you're saying. I'm going to just act like they don't exist. And then you're going to fall off. And now you ain't talking to me. And I'm like, what's going on with you? Oh, nothing. The opponent taking over, right? What opponent? I don't know what opponent you're talking to. You talking about white people? Spanish people? Ain't no opponent within me, Hood. I'm perfect. Oh, see, the opponent is anti-certainty. Essentially, we are internalized inferiority. We've internalized blaspheme. We internalize being children. Thus, we believe we cannot actually become like God. We actually cannot become a butterfly. It sounds good, but essentially, since nobody else has raised the kundalini, since nobody else has done the chakra work, since nobody else is sharing and understanding their responsibility when it comes to the community, when it comes to their spiritual journey, your spiritual journey is not for you to make money or to floss on people. Your spiritual journey is so you can become like God, so you can transform. And there's plenty of examples of people that have become like God, as we talk later in the conversation. Bring up a couple historical figures and things of that nature. Lack of certainty closes off the vessel. Lack of certainty is the majority of people. When you talk about spiritual things, they hear you, but doesn't resonate with them because they for sure are inferior. They for sure are gonna die, just like the people that they love. Check. Wanting to believe is not certainty. Good intentions are limits. Pain, suffering, and death convince us that we can't become like God. And the crazy thing, it isn't even our death that scares us. It's somebody else's death who did not understand the Kabbalistic technology of how to become like God. It's essentially a saying that it's like a, what's the word when you don't, use your muscles? Atrophy. So we become spiritually atrophied. And then we just imagine that this is the way for it to be. But essentially, we must know this. We must learn this. We must stop putting niggas on pedestals and put ourselves on the pedestal. Because until we do that, we'll continue to be in the realms of pain, suffering, and death, because we imagine that it's somebody else's duty to become like God, and it is not our personal destination or personal destiny, and we're not certain on this personal destiny. We feel as though the God within us will let us down. And the only way we feel like the God within us will let us down is because we haven't activated nor have we turned it on. We just sit and worry about what they're going to do with these pharmaceuticals, with what they're going to do about this, about our job, where we live in, all of this stuff we worried about. But can you become like God? In reference to the book that we're referencing, Becoming Like God, Kabbalah and Our Ultimate Destiny by Michael Berg. The link will be pinned at the top of the chat, and it's also in the description. One should not just read this book as if you're just driving down the street and you're going to remember every address. I feel like you should take notes about this book, do a book study, do a book review. And even if you don't do it for yourself, it's very important to understand that it's very easy to click into inferior, especially if people in our lives don't understand this transformation. Because it's bound to trigger people and have you in a space where people are looking at you like, who the fuck do you think you are? Who do you think you are to become like God? Now you talking crazy. You was cool with the meditating and shit. Now you talking about you gonna become like God, and now I got a problem with it. It's only one God, baby, and that's Jesus Christ, baby. You can't be like God, baby. Sorry, baby, but I am, because I'm doing the work. So real quick, when you study any book, especially this book, if it resonates with you, create the notes. Create the understanding that comes with the book, as opposed to reading it and then feeling intellectually validated. And then 2 months later, when I ask you about the book, you don't know shit about the book. Same way if I asked you what was at mile marker 86 on Route 71, you wouldn't have no fucking idea, because you just skimming through words. None of that shit you're taking with you. Okay? So you need to learn how to read. If you haven't learned how to read, essentially you don't know how to read. And just because you can understand the words on the goddamn page don't mean that you're reading it. If you can't reference what is getting a thorough understanding. You know how much energy and effort it takes to write a book? For a nigga to just be like, yeah, I read your book. What you mean you read my book? My book ain't even meant to be read. My book is meant to be studied. You should have notes, notated. I'm talking about your fucking astrology chart. I'm talking about your chakras. What do you think you're going to get from reading my book? You're not going to get shit from reading my book. I'm giving you exercises and shit. You think I just gave you the exercises and wrote the shit just so you could be fucking entertained? I don't care about your interests and things of that nature. So the God formula, I'm not giving you the whole God formula because I want you to get the book and read it. And I'm not going to give you the diagrams because he put out a hard ass layout on each and every formula. However, read the book, tune in and tap in. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because it's more or less mathematical understandings. And once we get through this, we'll have a deeper understanding of the formula of how to become like God. The world is the war of two opposite forces, light and darkness. There is no permanence in the universe. There is only movement. We are either heading toward the light or headed towards the darkness. Through our actions, we choose our direction. Ego is the total disconnection from God's life. Ego is pain, suffering, and death. God is the joy and fulfillment of life. There is a choice to be made at every moment. We have the power to choose our reality. To the degree our actions connect with God, we experience fulfillment. There is a choice to be made at every moment. To the degree that we connect with darkness or ego, we will experience pain. But when we experience with God, we experience fulfillment. There are only two choices. Hey Siri, play Robin Bass, Joy and Pain.
I didn't find Rob Bass, Joy and Pain on Apple Music.
Hey Siri, play Rob Bass, Joy and Pain on Spotify. Silly girl.
Here's Joy and Pain by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock on Spotify.
Come on now, stop playing. I'm trying to get my groove on. Bullshit. She bullshitting. Siri, what happened? Sorry. Hey. I don't even want to hear that one. I want to hear Rob Bass. What y'all know about this? They said it back in the 80s, and y'all been making it complicated ever since then. Do you want joy, my nigga? Or do you want pain? You want to listen to these conscious niggas talk about how the white person is the enemy, how black women are your enemy, and you don't have no responsibility on how things is taking place out here in this world because you tuned into pain? Somebody else is responsible for your personal pain that never met you, never thought about you. It's pretty deep. So once you understand the God formula, your life changes now. Let me check this chat out. Ooh, beans. Thank y'all for tuning in and tapping in. Once you tune in and tap into becoming like God, which is a simple understanding of following your joy, following your fulfillment, your life changes immediately. The same way as a caterpillar turned into a butterfly, it ain't like, Mama, I'm gone. I gotta go. He walking out with his book bag and shit. We gonna miss you, Bruce. We gonna miss you. The nigga just start flying away, never gonna return in the caterpillar village. Your life changes immediately. Because essentially we understand that in this life, we are headed towards transformation or we're headed towards death. You can bear witness to that every day. People feel it, understand it. It is one of the most dominating thoughts within our minds, in the people's mind. Damn, I'm gonna die one day. One day, I'm not going to exist, and that shit is scary. But that's pain, that's suffering, and that's darkness, and that's ego. Because the ego the caterpillar may experience a form of ego death. The caterpillar is like, damn, y'all not going to even notice me as a caterpillar no more? They said I had one of the fattest asses in caterpillar school. I was voted most likely to succeed in high school. You mean I got to give all of that up for butterfly wings? You sure it's going to be worth it, though? You sure? I mean, look. I got a nice little caterpillar car. You like my girl? She caterpillar girl. My caterpillar mama. In reference to these things, you would say, if that's what you're going to focus on, caterpillar, your caterpillar girlfriend, your caterpillar car, your caterpillar existence, then I'm sorry to say, you're going to die a caterpillar. But that's not the only option, though. We can bear witness. You can transform and transmute yourself and transmogrify yourself like butterfly Jesus, like Jesus had done. You see all of these butterflies flying around us? They used to be caterpillars just like you, Bruce. Say you swear to God. I swear. No, how? We don't know. It's spiritual. It's divine. It is biological. Say less. Where's the cocoon? Connecting to the God within will allow death to disappear from this world. You have to be certain about this, because some of y'all will not be certain about this, and just because you're not certain about it, you'll just align with the ego saying, that caterpillar got a fat old ass, man. I can't. Sound good, man. Butterfly school, wings, sounds good. But did you see that ass? You obviously didn't see that ass. You would have for sure. You for sure would have not. You for sure. You see her though. I hear you in that butterfly shit, man. Here you come again with this butterfly shit. Disconnection from God is death, essentially. And you could bear witness to the most healthiest man walking outside. They trying to move the goddamn bathtub because he got a mansion, of course. And the tub is wide, right? The tub too wide to get through the front door. So he get a crane. And he get some lifters. He could have got the professional lifters because he got the money, but he got his cousin who just got out, started his contractor business, gave him this big contractor thing, paid his cousin the money to do it. His cousin don't got all the equipment for it. And he just hear a lot of noise and he just run outside. What's going on out here, Rollo? Boom, boom, boom. Bathtub fall straight on his head. This dude worked out, lifted weights. He had $10 million in the bank. But he never connected to the God within. So essentially, it was going to come when it was going to come, how it was going to come, because he didn't do the thing that would speak to everlasting life. He imagined that everlasting life wasn't an option because he did not see anybody else present everlasting life as a particular possibility. So essentially, it is up to us to be the guinea pigs of tuning in to becoming like God. And essentially, a person might decide not to. And I understand. Because that caterpillar did have a fat ass and I understand. But to me, caterpillar world is inconsequential. So I'm going to bring this back. We are either heading towards life or we're headed towards death. And to understand this is not a paradigm shift, but a paradigm shatter. And what is a paradigm? Because we hear this word all the time. A paradigm is a model, pattern, or representative example as of the functions and interrelationships of a process, a behavior under study, or the like. A paradigm is a set of assumptions, attitudes, concepts, values, procedures, and techniques that constitute a generalized, accepted theoretical framework within or a general perspective of a discipline. So our paradigm, which is set up based upon death, our paradigm is set up on death. They tell you when you born, you about to die one day, fam. And essentially, we just wait for the shit. We dread it and we fear it, and we just imagine that we can't establish everlasting life because we never cut our computer on. And we allow our spirituality to atrophy to a point that it just says, I'll try again with another body. And so once it leaves this body, it goes into another body. So you are essentially not your body, fam. You are the spirit that exists within your body. And once you understand this, you will change your actions. You have to. You can't utilize spirit to help you out personally. That's like if I gave my children $1 million right now. They wouldn't invest it. They wouldn't make sure the money grows. Them niggas would spend $1 million on slushies and ice creams and shit. Slushies, ice cream, toys. But when you grow and you understand the value of money, you understand what you can do with money, you understand what you can do with your God force energy. If you don't do different things, then that kind of make you kind of, I don't know the right word to utilize for that. Y'all feeling the adjective that would describe a person with God force energy taking it and doing the same thing that they was doing it. So you working at goddamn a call center, you do God force energy work, and now you trying to get a raise at your call center. That's what people like. You think that's some crazy shit as I'm saying it, but that's what people really think this spirituality is for them to get a raise at their fucking job, or so they can get an A on their bullshit ass tests. So they can graduate from a fuck with a degree from the goddamn enemy. So they can continue to perpetuate the enemy's plan. They can be a foot soldier for the enemy, but be validated by personal trinkets and dollars and things of that nature. But when it comes to finding your soul, you don't even have the space and opportunity to do it, because when you start to change, your job is like, hey, you can't be wearing dreads and shit to work like that. What is you doing? Who the fuck you think you is coming in here like that? You can't change up. You can't change the paradigm. We worked hard on creating this paradigm of destruction, death, pain, and suffering. What the fuck do you think you're doing coming in here burning sage and shit, trying to change the energy, putting goddamn curves and wombs and getting rid of these straight lines and things of that nature, and coming out here with your hair all natural how it grew out your shit? You better distort that shit. Put some weave over that shit. Cover that shit up. You can't have no fucking natural chaos shit up in here. When you coming in here with these strong ass pheromones and things of that nature? Have you stopped using deodorant? You stop using the chemicals that we gave you to destroy you and take away your pheromones? You're using natural essential oils coming in here like peppermint. You know peppermint destructs my goddamn nasal passages and things of that nature. Hurry up and take some chemicals. Can't take you in your natural goddess state. Okay? So essentially, it's very important to change your paradigm and then see how the world will respond to your changes. But even more so, as you tune into your God force energy, you'll become more and more yourself. Because the problem is, you've been becoming more and more like somebody else. You see the problem and the issue? You've been looking at somebody and saying, ooh, sis got her shit together. I'm going to do like sis doing. I'm going to be like sis. Whole time you got an inner self that's going to tell you exactly what you need to do for yourself. You don't never need to look at nobody to give you the right thing to do for you. Your soul, it will be intuitive. It'll deal with you moment to 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 moment. It'll never leave you. It'll always be there. So, if you made it this far and you've tuned in and tapped in, it must be some kind of truth tied into it, in the fact that God exists within you, and the main part of this actual life and the main part of this actual journey is to tune in to the God within you. And let's just say that the union with God is highly possible. If a caterpillar can be a butterfly, man could be its divine true self without blockage, without obstruction. And the reality of what that looks like is going to be what your inner God says it's going to be. But if you want me to tell you what your inner God is saying, it's going to say you have to be the one to listen. So you have to deal with your fucking stress. You have to deal with your fucking toxic ass relationship. You have to deal with your need for immediate gratification. You have to deal with your fucking confusion. There's no amount of money in the world that you can pay me to resolve your shit. And that goes for anybody. Essentially, you have to bond with your God within. A person can only tell you that. No matter how much money they can pay you or you can pay them, no matter how many retreats, you can only bond with the God within you. It's nothing, no extra hierarchy shit that you can walk around and say, well, I did it like this, I did it like that. I connected with Jermaine. And Jermaine is my salvation. Jermaine is my Lord and Jesus Christ. And we was just saying, we've been saying that for these last past videos, sis. We just happy that you letting us know finally. We been knew you put too much energy and effort into Jermaine's punk ass. God does not suffer, nor does he die. God can never be attacked. God can never be struck down because God is unseen. God is non-physical. God is the everlasting, infinite soul. God is so large, yet so small that you can't even see it. And God exists within you. That's just not conjecture either. If your soul was to leave your body, this body would just be a pile of shit. Wouldn't be worth a damn. Just fucking nothing. Just not worth a damn thing. Won't move, won't talk, won't blink, won't shake their ass, won't twerk, won't do nothing. You did all of this stuff in life, and now the body just fucking a lump of clay. The body dead. The body just nothing. Body just lumped up, slumped over. God within you, somewhere chilling, probably smoking a blunt on an island. Like that experiment ain't work. Guess I gotta find another body again. What you gonna do this time? I'm thinking, shit, I ain't been a Japanese old lady in a long time. I think I'm gonna be a 95-year-old Japanese lady this time. I did the black dude stuff. That was weird. Weird. I think I'm gonna be a Japanese lady. The Spirit of God does not suffer, nor does it die. The Spirit of God exists within you. The Spirit of God animates your vessel. It is the reason that your vessel is alive. When your body is no longer connected to God, your body will no longer exist, but you essentially will exist forever. We see this in relics of ancient Egypt, Christian relics, old-ass churches, pyramids, ankhs, deities, mythologies, thousands of years old. Guess who's fucking still talking about it to this day? We are. Why? Because God does not suffer, nor does he die. Niggas are talking about Osiris today. What the hell in what world are we supposed to be talking about Osiris and energy that lived thousands of years ago? But that's like telling me who won the last gladiator fight in 455 BC in January. It was a Tuesday. It was raining. And on that day, it was 5 gladiator fights. Who won the third one? Like, you fucking would never know that shit. That shit's gone. But somehow we know what an Ankh is. We know what Osiris is. We know what Isis is. We know what the Netters are. We know what hieroglyphics are. We know all of this shit. Why? Because God does not die. The Spirit of God does not die, and the Spirit of God exists within you. Will you tune into it and activate and make this shit count today? Right? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I no longer talk to inferior-minded people because I cannot save you or help you. If you internalize inferiority, I can't get into your being and say, you know what? You're not inferior. You are a God. And that time that, you did that wild shit with that wild people, that time you had Jermaine out here selling drugs for Jermaine out here, all of this stuff you did, it's okay. It didn't happen. Can't do it. You're going to have to get over what you've been through. You're going to have to get over your relationships. You're going to have to be ruthlessly honest about where you're directing your energy today. Are you fixated and focused on selfish desire? What you want, what you need, what you have, what you don't got? And the problem with Black America is that there are millions of Black men and women 45 to, let's just say 65, that do not give a fuck about nobody but themselves. And then what we need is advice. What we need is mentorship. What we need is somebody to guide us. What we need is somebody to tell us the truth. But we don't got that. We got a lot of motherfuckers, baby boomers, that done made their money, bought their house, and they live in their house. They buy DoorDash. They get shit off of Amazon, and they don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about their kids. They don't give a fuck. Okay? Everything that they do is born out of a selfish desire. This desire to receive for the self alone, which you rarely will act out of pure selflessness in the reference of you are just that inferior to think that the more shit you buy off Amazon, the better. So essentially, what brings us to a point of wholeness and understanding, we must destroy the ego. And essentially, if it's a hard decision to destroy the ego, you like, well, Hood, I've been kind of fucking it up on Amazon Prime. I got a lot of points. So you mean I can't buy nothing off Amazon? I don't know about that. So you mean to say I can't do nothing for myself? I don't know about that. I don't know about destroying the ego, man. That's a kind of a hard one. Well, then don't. Think about yourself. Buy more shit for yourself. Decorate your fucking front room. Decorate your fucking bathroom. I don't give a fuck. Put a fucking patio in your backyard. Who gives a shit? Okay? Because whatever you decide to do, you thinking that when you put a new patio, when you buy this new shit off of Amazon, is going to bring you some form of joy. But essentially, you're just building up your caterpillar palace. So essentially, when you destroy the ego, it's not a hard decision. It makes perfect sense to say, you know what? I don't give a fuck about this body because it ain't going to last forever. No fucking way. What is going to last forever is my soul. Shout out to you, Stardust. Thank you for the donation. It must be practical and logical to release your ego, because after this, you have nothing but your God force energy to activate and tune into. Your ego is your opponent, it is your prison guard, and it is blocking you from your God force energy. Your ego is telling you that you're inferior and you need shit off Amazon Prime to feel good about yourself. And since you don't understand that there's an option within yourself, you agree with that motherfucker. You're right. What is this, a rose? Hood, I seen this rose on Instagram. I think I'm gonna buy it. It say it give you all types of pleasure and joy. I think I'm gonna buy it, Hood. Now, what you said about becoming like God, does it have anything to do with roses, Hood? I'm just wondering. Because my rose is kind of like God if you really think about it. Like, let's really talk about it, though. Because I like your disposition and I like your presentation, but have you tried a rose yet, Hood? A rose. It's different. It's not like all the other stuff that you've been saying. See, you don't ever talk about the roses, and roses is kind of like God. You need to do more research on it, Hood. Transformative energy does not come easy. It violates our sense of entitlement. We feel as though we don't need to develop our energy of intensive sharing. Like, we feel like motherfuckers need to give us more shit off Amazon Prime, or it's a big problem. And because we need shit from Amazon Prime is because we're entitled, and we at the root are entitled. So we will go to college. We will work for the enemy. We will get our paychecks. We will save our money and we will retire and we won't give a fuck about a soul because we did not do all of this shit for nobody but ourselves. And all we will get out of this whole thing, sad to say, is death. Man is not by nature deserving of all that he wants. When we think that we are automatically entitled to something, that is when we start walking all over others to get it. And that leads us into true selfishness. What is true selfishness? And it could be seen as a virtue in this Instagram society, but even before Instagram society, growing up in the 90s, all motherfuckers cared about is who looked good and who was looking good and who was looking better. Okay? Why? Because people were preoccupied with their own desires. Whoever had the nicest car, whoever had the nicest outfit, whoever had the nicest girl, whoever had the nicest nigga, whoever had the nicest house, whoever had the nicest shit was enough to allow a person to go to sleep at night. And while the enemy continued to teach us bullshit, while the enemy continued to drug our children, while the enemy produced epidemic on top of epidemic, we just said, I got a new car. I don't give a fuck about that shit. And while your children's died off of opioids, you said, look at my new car. I just got a raise. So essentially, people, once you disconnected from God, you tune into your survival, your immediate gratification. And what this does is allow you to be opaque. So when you talk about spiritual information with people, it's like they don't get it, they don't understand. It's because they have a wall up. And in order to understand God's life force energy, you have to be transparent. It's like a window that's covered, ain't no sun gonna get through. But if you open up your windows, open up the shade, it might be a glass there, but the sun will shine directly through it. And this is how you can view it or understand God's life force energy within yourself. If you are opaque, if you are tuned in to survival, preoccupied with your own desires, tuned in to immediate gratification, you need it now, God's light will not shine through you. And essentially you will live as a limited expression and have a limited experience of life, which is half-assed at the end of the day. This is why it's very important to tune in to the technology known as Kabbalah. This technology known as Kabbalah is the root of all Western religion. But Kabbalah is a technology. Religion is a mind control system. So what is Kabbalah? The word Kabbalah means many different things to many different people. However, in a nutshell, it is an ancient wisdom that reveals how the universe and life work on a literal level. Clarity, certainty. The word Kabbalah means receiving. It is the study on how to receive fulfillment in our lives. Do you imagine that you will receive fulfillment from a man? Do you imagine that you will receive fulfillment from a woman? If you imagine these things, you are highly misinformed. You are to receive from the God within you. When we receive our inner God's light endlessly, we will eventually transform into what we need to transform into. But essentially, we are transparent and openly reflecting our inner light as we reference our own creator. To imagine what it took to grow from a microscopic entity to a full-grown human being must mean something within you is fucking amazing. And to turn your energy and awareness to that, you need to sleep on it and follow it and allow it to lead you. And when it leads you to somewhere, don't forget it where it led you to. What am I talking about? Oh, spirit, help me manifest a job. Now I care more about my job than I care about my spirit. Make it make sense. Our inner light is available wherever we let it. So yeah, my spirit be working here, but in my relationships, niggas ain't shit. Yeah, my spirit be working here, but my financial life, the white man just want to keep black people broke. Yeah, my spirit be working here, but motherfuckers be hating on Instagram and YouTube. They be shadow banning me. The enemy is out there holding me back. Our inner light is available wherever we let it. So why can't your God force energy be in your relationship? Why can't your God force energy be in your finances? Why can't your God force energy be in your career? Why you can't take your God force energy to the call center? Because why? Your God force energy tell you to leave and you don't want to listen to it because you more tuned into what? You more tuned into your survival, immediate gratification, preoccupied with your own desires. So when that check get direct deposited, you can spend $40 on that girl from the escort site. We see you, we just don't say nothing. Because we give you the tools to your destruction or the tools for your salvation. You get to choose how you use them. So essentially, if we are here to receive God's inner light, our inner God's light, we essentially have to remove the walls that we've built, more or less the blasphemous thoughts that we absorbed, the inferior thoughts that we absorbed about ourselves. But nobody has told you the depths and the power of the human being's mind and energy once it's tapped in. If a goddamn caterpillar can morph into a butterfly, just imagine the energies when it looks like when you tap in to your spiritual cocoon. Death shall have no dominion in our hearts, in our minds, and in our tongues. Kabbalah comes with the courage to not just simply die happily, but to not die. Okay? Once you receive your inner God's light, you are essentially saying that I am my inner God, and even if this body was to transpire, I will live forever. So because I will live forever, I will confront this physical immortality and imbue my physical life with my spiritual life and learn to live forever. A real life example of this was the story of Enoch that was taken out of the Bible. And another way that these connects is that Enoch was eventually turned into an angel who was called Metatron. Okay? Enoch presents Metatron in two ways. He is a primordial angel, and he is the transformation of Enoch after he was assumed into heaven. See, Enoch never died. Enoch was assumed or lifted into heaven, and Enoch walked with God. And you might think that God was in the sky like, come here, my son. But if Enoch walked with God, knowing everything that we've understood about Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, Enoch is a allegory to man walking with their inner God and becoming that wise primordial angel with wings, like a butterfly. But is it a non-physical understanding, awareness, and certainty that your God force energy is powerful? But you don't use it as a crown and say, I'm better than you niggas. You use it as a modality to share righteous information that's going to better your brother and sister, not because you want to, because you have to. So the last chapter we are going to cover before you guys go to sleep is the opponent. The stuff death is made of. So right here we have a quote from Albert Einstein. The more the knowledge, the lesser the ego. The lesser the knowledge, the more the ego. So essentially, a person will try to boost themselves up if they're not able to build themselves up from a spiritual level. Knowledge would be gnosis. Gnosis would be certainty. Certain that God exists within you. Sometimes you can admit to yourself that you're not that certain, and then essentially this is where you're trying to get to. You're not trying to take over the world. You're not trying to manifest. You're just trying to learn how to be certain that within you is God. And I don't know how long that's going to take you. However, it should take you as long as it needs to, because if it is true, then you need to figure out how it is true for you. How the thing that blocks you, though, is that the ego pretends to be your best friend. It pretends to be the best thing you got going, but at the same time, it is isolating you, keeping you in a negative space within yourself. You know that you're in a negative space, and that's because you're tuned in and tapped into your ego. And how do you find the God within? Do you just look within yourself, meditate for a couple of seconds? Hey, hood, I found it. I found it. I found it. It was hiding behind the couch, under the couch. Damn kids put their toys on top of it, made it hard to see. But I found the God within myself. Good book. Great book. No. If you find the God within yourself, if you become like God, then you share. Not only do you share, you have a desire to share. And this part right here, family, this part right here changed my life. I don't give a fuck no more. Because I've always had this desire to share, but I'm like, man, maybe I'm going too hard. I don't want people to think that. Meanwhile, I'm looking on the internet, motherfuckers is sharing like a bitch. And I'm just like, I ain't trying to share that much. I don't want people to think that, No, if I have a desire to share, I'm going to share. Because where does my desire to share come from? It comes from my desire to become like the God within myself. I have to act in a way that I am giving or sharing, or else it's just conjecture. It's just a conversation. I want to be like God one day. Are you sharing? No, I only care about myself. Well, you got a long way to go to get to be like God. Because the energy of God is constantly sharing. You never look at the sun and say, you know what? Can I give you $10? You've been shining such this powerful rays down on the earth. You just been helping people with these powerful energies. Hey man, can I give you $10? Even if you could give it $10, ain't no way that you can give the 10. It's only programmed to share positive energy onto the earth. That's the only thing that the sun does. And yet and still the sun is more reliable than goddamn Jermaine's ass. And you done gave Jermaine some pussy. Tell Jermaine to come over here right now. It's late. You ain't set nothing up with him. Oh, it's a wrap. Jermaine is not coming this late. You know how he is. But yet and still you give Jermaine all of your energy, but never tune in and tap into the wonderful majesty of the sun. Confusion leads to doubt, which stops people from seeking or learning themselves. When you are confused on what the deal is, at a certain point, you will have sex with enough women, you will have sex with enough men, trying to find God through bumping uglies, through establishing a relationship with a divine masculine. And it only leads you to confusion, which will lead you to doubt, because if you are never directing your energy unto yourself and then sharing, see, one thing to become like God, but another thing to fully become like God is to share positive energy, because that's where y'all stop at. Yes, you're beautiful, sis, but you ain't about to share nothing with nobody. Keep it a buck, 2,100. You don't give a fuck about nobody. You lit though, which is doubt. Okay. So when you are confused and when you're in doubt, you will not seek to find the God within yourself, nor will you become like God, because you're more or less confused. Being confused is being confused. So essentially, we have to learn focus. We have to learn clarity. And once we tap into focus and clarity, these are the energies that go against the enemy or the opponent within ourselves. Because when it comes to the shit that you want, you will worry about something else. You desperately want to accomplish Instagram fame or something like that. What you talking about? You be on Instagram all the time. Yeah, but what do that have to do with anything? Where's your focus and your clarity at? You keep saying focus and clarity. Could you define those words? Because what are you talking about? Meaning that our people are so far away from the fact that they will not focus and be clear on some shit that it just mainly lies. It's mainly lies. So what am I doing today? I'm fighting for clarity. I'm having this conversation for clarity. I had to see how this shit was sound. And even more so as I continue to read, as I continue to grow, as I continue to learn, I'm fighting for clarity. I'm learning for clarity. Because I'm tired of listening to y'all and getting mumbo jumbo to death. Once you develop clarity, you have the power to be proactive, not reactive. Once you tune in and tap into your God force energy, it's time to get to fucking work. Essentially, though, if we're not working towards what we are trying to accomplish, we're waiting for it to happen. And that's a majority of spiritual conversations. Just pray for it, meditate on it, and wait for it to happen. However, it's very important to make this connection with our God force energy. And once we make this connection with our God force energy and we live in those results, we understand what it's all about. All I can say, family, is once my life was changed, once I realized, oh shit, I gotta hop on my horse and get to where I need to get to, everything made sense. It was super easy once I became proactive to sharing. Once I realized that I'm going to give you my best energy, I'm going to give you my best understanding, and I'm going to leave it in the day. And whatever is not in the day, I'm going to carry it over to the next day, and I'm going to give it all. I'm going to share it all. I'm going to give you all that I got. Because I'm trying to learn how to become like God. I'm telling you, these chapters are so fucking life-changing. If you're serious about your spiritual journey, because you could get very confused in this shit thinking that it's all about you. And once you understand that it's all about you, once you begin to make these connections, when I share from a perspective of divine, overt sharing, giving all that I can give, man, I'm taken care of on the other side. Whatever I wanted, whatever I desired, whatever I wish for is given to me in abundance. I don't never have to worry about shit over there. All I worry about is making sure that I share. And now that I got into a space where I'm comfortable with sharing, that leads to correction. Now I'm not lazy. Now I'm utilizing the testosterone in my blood and I'm taking advantage of it. I'm waking up and I'm doing shit. I'm waking up with every action that I do, it means something. I'm not just doing shit mindlessly. And this is what the clarity of tuning into my God force energy looks like for me. It is correcting my actions. Correction leads to power. So correlation is the understanding of yourself and your God force energy and seeing how it works when you connect with this energy by not just connecting with it at an intellectual level, but connecting with it followed by an action of sharing, intentful sharing. And you share not to get something in return. You share because you want to give the best possible energy. This leads to a correlation. A correlation obviously comes with the correction once we see how shit works. And once we see how shit works, we repeat it. This leads to power, inner power. And this is a big deal because we want to use spirituality to empower all of the shit that we already got going on. But spirituality is to lead you to a transformation. Okay? That is your power. Your power is not to get better shit than your brother and sister and say, look what I got and look what you don't got. That's our problem. So once we tune in and tap into this correction, right, it's real easy. But other people may not want to change because they love the ego. They love caring for themselves and only themselves. And these people could be your husbands, these people could be your wives, these people could be Jermaine, these people could be your mom, your dad. All they care about is themselves. And as you tune into your God force energy, you're going to have to make a change that I can't be like you. I respect you. I love you. I care for you. But the shit that you're doing is centered in pain, suffering, and death. And I'm moving into everlasting life. And the butterfly is not going to be a butterfly as a family. A butterfly isn't going to be a butterfly as a couple. A butterfly is an individual process of a person who understands their God force energy and will allow their parasympathetic system to take over, their rest and relaxation to take over. But your rest and relaxation is a misnomer, it's a play on words. You might think your rest and relaxation is going to a beach and sitting on your ass. Essentially, that creates more stress. Rest and relaxation is the joy that you find in doing the thing that you are sent here to do. Because when you're doing it, it is not feeling like work. It feels like rest and relaxation. And so your brain and your nervous system and your body begins to react and respond to the positive stimuli that you are giving it constantly, because you are doing the thing that you were sent here to do ad nauseum, in perpetuation. You don't do shit else. You only do the thing that you are sent here to do, and this is rest and relaxation. I know we think that rest and relaxation is going to the Bahamas, but actually that's a trip. And you have to pay money for that trip. You have to go to a hotel, pay for that trip. You have to pay for your food. You have to pay for your trip back. And now all you got is memories and a weak ass bank account. None of that shit felt good when it's all said and done. That's not rest and relaxation. That's not R&R. I'll go so far as to say that you can go to work tomorrow and have more R&R if you tune into your God force energy and share your positive energy with positive intent. Then a person. So we are going to get in the minutia, the nitty gritty, the nuts and bolts into how to become like God, according to Michael Berg, who is, from what I've understood, taking the Kabbalah and making it a book that you could just simply understand the Kabbalah like in regular English. So we'll just do a grand build up, big crescendo, turning point, then we'll come back home, and then we'll go back to our normal life with the understanding of I know how to become like God. What comes with that? Eternal life, immortality, greatness, prosperity, love, manifestation, magnetism, protection. All of that fly shit is essentially what becoming like God is. So when you think about becoming like God, it is becoming like your joy. So it, like, people can get thrown off by God. People can get thrown off by ego, because we've all heard it. We all think we have an understanding. So whenever I say God, whenever I say Goddess, whenever I say your inner being, whenever I say the God within, I'm talking about your personal joy and becoming like your personal joy, your personal goodness. There is something within you that wants to give you everything that you want. I'm going to say that again. There is something within you that wants to give you everything that you want. So when you wake up and you worry about your job, you worry about everything around you, are you becoming like God, or are you dealing with the opponent? So let's just get into it. We're going to finish the book today with the book report. Oh yeah, by the way, I will put the book in the description. I didn't do that. I was so geeked to do this video this morning that I didn't even I didn't even put the link in the description. Look at me. Let me do that right now, because it ain't like, just in case somebody want to get the book as we going through it. Like, no, I need to have this book in my library, hood. what's the link? So let me go ahead and share y'all this link. Peace, family, grand rising. We getting into this information. We are doing Becoming Like God book review. And man, I'm so happy to share this information with y'all. I'm so happy to that at least one person is going to become like their inner joy. I'm so happy that people understand their purpose. Oh man, the channel last night, it was like you can't love somebody. You got to have purpose because love is included in purpose along with a whole slew of other things. So it ain't about just simple love. Love is just one aspect to a relationship. If you're really serious about the relationship, you find purpose in that person. So Becoming Like God, Kabbalah and Our Ultimate Destiny by Michael Berg. We're going to go through the chapters right now. So the chapters are as follows. The mountain and the rock. I don't know. I got a text message. The mountain and the rock, the crack in the door, God disguised as you, certainty, the God formula, your life changes now, and death shall have no dominion, the opponent, the stuff that death is made of. And those were all chapters that we discussed in previous videos. So be sure to check out those previous videos. The chapters that we will be discussing today, however, comfort kills. The heart of the misguided people is almost. I would say something, but my phone will be reacting. So I'd be like, hey Siri. And I'm like, she vibrated. She be listening too much, okay? The heart of misguided people is almost. Like that Brandy song, almost doesn't count. What are the weapons of war? In referencing the war that you have within yourself. See, the deeper thing is that if you more tuned in and tapped into an enemy outside of yourself, whether it's your partner, whatever imagination that you can have that person has got it out with you, you haven't solved the inner war. So we'll deal with some weapons that help you defeat that inner war that's going in within you. The Zohar. And this is where it connect with me. The Zohar in the Kabbalah is actually one, or the Zohar teaches the Kabbalah. So this book is teaching you Kabbalah, teaching you all of the things that we've been talking up leading to here when I started uploading the classes and stuff like that. So all of this information is talking about one thing. And guess what that one thing is? That one thing is you. So when you see the tree of life, you start to understand that you're not looking at anything foreign. You're looking at the diagram of you and how you tune in and tap into your higher self. And this is the way to it. But then you figure, how often should I tune into my higher self? Like, what is the schedule like? And the reality is, all fucking day, no matter what you're doing, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 31 days in goddamn February, 365 days a year. Every single moment of your life is a simple process of tuning to your higher self. It simplifies life in a whole slew of ways. And then when you simplify this process, you get everything you want in return. See, but if you do not simplify this process and you don't tune into your higher self, you will be in a fucked up situation the way that life is being set up. Because I hear horror stories and all types of crazy shit that's happening, but in reference, are you tuning into your higher self? So we ended with the ocean, not of all ears. That would be wild, an ocean of just nothing but ears. But the ocean of all the tears of all the people. So I was at the coffee shop, and then this CD came on called It Will All End in Tears. And it's a CD that came out in 1984, the year I was born. And it's like, I'll be liking like weird ass music and shit like that. So this was one of those CDs that was like super weird. It was like some 80s music. It sounded like Twin Peaks music, and I fucking love Twin Peaks music. Like, that is the best music to me. So I'm listening to this CD and it make me think about how life is just going to end in death, right? And that shit bothers me, right? Like, damn, I'll do all of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'll have a bubble eye Benz on 20-inch rims, and all I'll do at the end of it is transition. My whole life, I don't know if y'all like me at all, but I don't know if y'all like me, but I always had a problem with the concept of death. Like, I never really fully accepted it. Even if other people around me transition, I would understand it to be. But within my heart, I like my whole entire life, I felt like I wouldn't necessarily die. And I tested that theory out a lot of times in my 20s. My mama don't know. My family don't know. A lot of people don't know. But I always tried to see if it was possible for me to die. Because I've had plenty of near-death experiences and like never fully committed to the concept of just dying. So I chilled out from my 20s a lot. You know what I'm saying? I think about it in a way of like, I need to understand it. I need to get into this shadow work, because if I don't, it'll be something that I think about, it'll be something that I process, but it'll never be something that I explore. So throughout this conversation, we will explore the deeper concept of not dying. See, if you think that you may die, then essentially you open yourself up for that possibility. More or less, if you dread it, even as a young person, right? You could be young and think about death, or think about the day that you might die. So essentially, from a spiritual point of view, it is like setting your pituitary gland on a downward spiral towards the perpetual or eventual said death. Now, this point, you start to do kundalini work when you in your 20s and 30s. You start to understand the rising of energy and the rising of kundalini energy and all of these particular things that come with it. So, in connecting with your higher self is the same way as moving up the tree of life. It's the same as raising kundalini up your spine to kether. Okay? This is what you call life and activation. But I know I'm speaking French, because essentially, when I will have a conversation with a person, it is never in reference to the seriousness of their kundalini activation. Even if you do purchase a book, you purchase a book to say you my friend or some shit. And that's not really going to cut it in reference into understanding the succinct, linear, and cyclical message and referencing what you are to do down here on earth. So let's start with chapter 8. Comfort kills. You may think that is heroin. You may think that is casual sex. You may think that is alcohol. But did you know comfort is the deadliest drug known to man? Because comfort is the high key representation of your mama and your daddy. 9 times out of 10, your parents have worked hard to establish comfort for themselves. They have worked jobs, they have paid rent, they have paid mortgage, they have done all of the things they needed to do to establish comfort for themselves. And if you do the same thing that they do, you will have the same result. And if your parents did not create a comfortable life, say for instance, your parents were a drug addict, and your parents decided to do drugs instead of raise you, or whatever the case may be. If you, as their child, decide to do the same thing that they did, you will have the same results as they had. You don't do drugs and then say, you know what? I'm going to do it better. I'm going to smoke crack a little differently. I'm going to smoke crack with class. I'm going to smoke crack spiritually for rituals. It don't work like that. If you smoke crack, you smoke crack. Ain't no cool way to do it. There's no cool way to receive for the self alone. So when you look at this particular picture, in my spiritual journey, I was at the bottom of the bottom. And you know what brought me up? I did a meditation. I had my cousin in Cleveland, DA. I knew my cousin Duran in Boston. I knew my cousin Chad in Boston. I knew all my homeboys. You know what I did? I just started sending them my shay. I just started sending them positive energy. I know DA, he want to make it in music. I know Duran, he want to do that. I know Chad, he want to do that. So I just started sending them my shay. I just hope that they had the best life ever. That's all I could do, because I was done, right? I didn't have shit. I was fucked up, and I couldn't even wish for myself. But when I started to do that, things started to happen. I did that meditation. I walked out the house. Mind you, I ain't have nothing, right? I don't never know if you ever just never had shit. But the choices that I made led me to not having shit, y'all. No GoFundMe, no nothing, right? So I just walk out the house, and this boy walking down the street, but he walking with some energy. So spirit was just like, ask him where he work at. So I was like, hey dog, where you work at? He gave me a card. He's like, call him. He'll give you a job today. So long story short, I just started working for this temp agency, and that just kind of leveled me up. Cause I am who I am. I ain't no slouch or nothing. I just was living a good life. It got too good. So it just, I had to find balance in what I needed to find balance in. But I say that to say, if you find yourself in a negative situation, don't wish for yourself, because you already wish for yourself enough, right? You wish for yourself into this deep, dark hole. You wish for that. You wish for the man. You wish for the job. You wish for the high-rise apartment that you getting kicked out. You wish for all of this shit. Stop wishing. Start giving. It makes a lot of sense, but you have to be persistent with it. You have to understand that it's never about you for yourself. You cannot follow the path of your parents. You cannot. You can't look to your parents as people who have created a life for themselves and have never given to nobody. You can't look for that as a commendable life. That's some weird shit when you think about everybody needs everybody to survive. Okay, so if you are in a level of comfort, like if you worked hard, maybe your parents have came from the bottom of whatever the case may be, right? Like your parents was homeless, you know what I'm saying? Worked hard, right? And now they got them a nice crib and shit like that. You know what they'll tell you? I worked hard for this. You don't know what I came through to have this big bubble-eye Benz on 20-inch rims. I had to sell my ass for this, whatever the case may be, right? Yeah, some of y'all, never mind. We ain't gonna get to some of y'all, never mind. That's too deep of a subject. And we talking about becoming like God. We ain't talking about becoming like Palmajira. I digress. So, if you are comfortable, you will never create the urgent need to change, to become like God, to do the Kabbalistic, connect to your higher self, because your comfort says, even though I'm not happy, even though I'm watching the same television programs, Netflix programs, sitting on my ass, even though I'm not doing shit productive, even though I have resources that I can share, even though I can invest, even though I can expand and live my life to its fullest capacity, I'm too comfortable. I don't need to change because I'm comfortable. So you have to have a sense of urgency to change from that comfort, but essentially this is where the rubber meets the road, and generally comfortability is essentially what will block you from becoming like God. And then you will have to fight within yourself because you are God. See, that's how it works. You either become like God or you fight the ego within. And since you're not bold enough and strong enough to say, hey, I am the enemy, I am the opponent for which I have to fight against, you then project that on whoever triggers whatever buttons that particularly you can get pushed. There are many buttons that I've heard get pushed in this world. So, what's comfortable for the body is misery for the soul. But to get the comfort of the soul is to be uncomfortable in the body. This is alignment because me and Dreamwise didn't talk about this beforehand. Dreamwise put out a video last night about being uncomfortable. So clearly Spirit is saying y'all too fucking comfortable out here in these streets. Clearly Spirit is saying y'all made some money and relax. Clearly Spirit is saying the energy that y'all walked in the door with is not the energy y'all kept once y'all got in the crib. Clearly Spirit is saying that. So to find your edge, you need to figure out how you're uncomfortable and sit in that for a second. But you then might feel like that is too difficult to come about. So we'll get into some details or how the author explains how to figure out how to seek uncomfortability as a means to grow, because it's all about intention. It's not uncomfortability for uncomfortability's sake. It's uncomfortability so you could be comfortable within your soul. You think that I was comfortable the first time I got online and started speaking? Or did I do 900 videos to perfect or attempt to perfect and continue to perfect to be comfortable within my body? I'm not comfortable specifically speaking. Actually, I'm very uncomfortable speaking because I don't speak classic English. Like, you know, I came from goddamn Mars and some shit, came down to this planet. Y'all speak all proper and shit like that. Got all of these words. Why is it a K in front of no and you can't say no? Tell me why that makes sense. But in y'all mind, it makes sense. Y'all comfortable in y'all idiocracy. But I digress. Should you choose to seek comfort, or should you choose to seek the comfort of the soul? Essentially, you seeking comfort, but uncomfortability is the comfort of the soul, and this is the direction you should go. You shouldn't try to do both. You shouldn't attempt to be comfortable and then comfortable within the soul. The same way as if I'm going to LA, I wouldn't say I'm going east and west. No, I gotta go west if I want to go to LA. If I don't want to go west, either I'm going to LA, I gotta go west. If I don't want to go to LA, then if I don't want to go west, then I don't go to LA. It's just, I can't go east. People will say, yeah, you can go around the globe, but imagine how silly that is to prove a point. You might get lost. You can get to LA traveling east, right? But imagine how crazy that is when all you have to do is take 2 steps up. When all you have to do is connect to your soul, right? All you have to do is go west. Like, it's simple. But generally, people try to come with the different types of logic, right? It's easy to come up with the logic to say, no, you don't really have to go west to go to LA. You could go east and just travel around the world, go through China, travel across the Pacific Ocean and be in LA too, hood. You don't have to always go west. And it's like, these are y'all baby dads. Like, these are y'all baby dads. You feel me? Like, always putting a logic on top of some shit that really don't need logic a lot of times. Sometimes shit is just easy and simple, and that's what becoming like God is, because essentially you are God. So why would it be a difficult process? It is a simple process. You must become uncomfortable and do the thing that makes you uncomfortable because you love it. I want to speak. I know that I would love to speak, but at first I was just horrible at it. And I'm probably still a level of horrible, but that's okay. I'm to a point where I love it. So you could kiss my ass and you could watch goddamn Dame Drops eat a hamburger. At this point, who gives a shit? It's all different types of shit that you could watch. But I understand. I'm talking about how to become like God. I'm talking about the deepest spirituality known to man. And I'm saying that it's very simple. Y'all like a nigga to be very confusing and speak your ass in circles and take all of your money and have you fucking confused. That's what y'all want. But I'm not going to give you that. I refuse to give you that. I refuse to charge you. I refuse to make it to a point where you feel like you need to do something to become God. I'm saying that you already are God. I know this. You don't know this. And this is the fucking problem. You sit and tell me about your complaints and your issues and your problems, but you do not tell me about the work that you do to find the God within you. Which should be your priority? Which should be the thing that you sit and fucking obsess over? How can I become like God? What am I doing right now? Being fucking aware of what you are doing, what you are feeling, and essentially, what's the purpose? Because if it's some external purpose that you're talking about, some business, some relationship, some fuckery fuck that may work or may not work, I'm going to tell you, kiss my ass at this point. If you ready to become like God, then we can work, we can chop, we could do it, we could do whatever you want to do. But you can't be not serious about becoming like God, because it's internal and it's so serious because we are butterflies. Did you know that we are butterflies? But we out here living this spiritual caterpillar bullshit, and I'm tired of it. So, how do you know you're being uncomfortable? You point out, and trust me, get the book, because I'm skimming and scamming like a bitch right now. Like, I am cracking cars right now, how bad I'm skimming and scamming, but I'm skimming and scamming, and I got a whole bunch of information too. And it's a whole bunch of information that I'm leaving out that's vital to your understanding of becoming like God. And to those who are entering the chat, God is personal to what you feel is the absolute of ultimate joy. God is getting your salad tossed in the waterfall by Idris Elba, right? God is a whole, like, getting your salad tossed by Halle Berry in the Chilean mountains on horseback. God is whatever you want it to be, but it is the ultimate of positive feelings. And this is where you become, this is what you become. You do not fall victim of media's programming trying to get you into a fear-like state to weaken your immune system so they can harvest your understanding of who you are. This is a very critical moment in time where you decide who you are. Are you a spiritual being having a human experience, or are you just a human being? It's very important to understand, because that's the conversation and the dialogue that needs to take place. But you have to do the work to have the dialogue. So the need to feel special, the hunger for approval, longing to belong, the addiction to fluff and flattery keeps comfort alive. See, when you need to feel special, when you have the hunger for approval, the longing to belong, the addiction to fluff and flattery. Okay? And a lot of things is like where I didn't even know this. Yesterday, I learned a new word. And that whole time, right, I thought what motherfuckers was calling love, it ain't even love. It's a whole new word that I didn't even know existed. It's either limerence, like rinse a whole plate of limes, rinse limes, or limerence. I don't know which one it is, but a limerence is obtaining affection. It is characterized by testosterone, dopamine, and adrenaline. It sees the object of love as perfect without flaws. Stress and frustration due to lack of commitment, mind games, and cannot stop thinking about their crush. Love, however, is given affection, creates vasopressin, oxytocin, and similar calming chemicals, sees the lover's flaws but accepts them, is calm and relaxing in solid relationships. In love, there is clear communication. In love, you can stop thinking about the lover whenever you need to. Hello. Whole time I'm listening to people telling me how much they love people. Whole time I'm gonna be like, that sounds like limerence to me. Cause limerence is wishing to be loved, wanting to be loved. Love is the giving of that love that you wish to receive. And now you in a whole different world. Now you're so uncomfortable in a space where you're giving unconditionally to a person that you said you love. He didn't say he loved you. You said you loved him, but you didn't really love him. You was in limerence. And if you find yourself in limerence, if you find yourself thinking about a person, wanting a person, I'm going to give you some very serious advice that you should not let it go. You should take this advice to heart. If I ain't never told you nothing in life, let that motherfucker go. Okay? You don't need to be thinking about nobody who ain't thinking about you on no level. You got too much work to do out here. I better not hear it. You better not come to me talking about no little boy that you like or no little girl that you interested in. You don't got time for that. Because if it's meant to be, you will raise yourself up to the highest level and you will attract her. And if you don't attract her or him, then you need to work on yourself. You need to get your attractors up. You should be at the point with relationships. This is no lie. When you serious about your spirituality, you look at relationships like, should I choose A, B, C, D, E, F, G, E? Like, which one should I choose? If you find yourself in a position where you need somebody, you just not tuned in and tapped into your source yet, and you ain't really lit for real. Within you is a lit ass motherfucker out here in these streets that can choose. I believe that. I know that. I trust that. However, it ain't about you feeling special or you receiving love from somebody. It's about you giving that. So, how do we become like the Creator as opposed to hoping the Creator will become like us? It's easy to pray for what we want, but the prayer should be to know what we already know and get closer to that. So, simply, we know everything that we need to know within us. You have a knower within you that knows everything. You are the best and deepest psychic known to man because you have thought and magnetized and created the life that you're living in right now. You've created a whole psychic parallel world within your life right now. Everything you created is from a psychic point of view. So essentially, if you decided should you get hot Cheetos or salt and vinegar chips, you didn't get a reading for that. You automatically knew, oh, I'm feeling hot Cheetos today. That was some psychic stuff. How did you attract your partner, your kid's mother, your kid's father? That was some psychic stuff. You knew, Roscoe, I want you, baby. At every point, you always know, should I take a left? Should I take a right? Should I go down Monroe or should I go down Broad? I'm gonna take Monroe because traffic gonna be crazy on Broad. You know, you talking to yourself, you having these conversations within yourself, and you're not getting closer to it. You're utilizing it when you need it, and that's fucked up. Think about it. Think about it. Think about your whole fucking life and all of the decisions that you made, and you never asked nobody for shit. And now all of a sudden, I tell you get closer to your higher self, and now you're trying to figure out how to do it. Now I tell you to meditate. You like, well, how do I do that? Then you just have a whole conversation with yourself before you clicked on the video about what you should wear today before you go to work. And then you already know what you was going to wear, how you was going to look in it, how you had to worry about how to get rid of that lint ball or how to get rid of that stain or whatever the case may be. So you already had it sitting the tide, soaking on the stain or whatever. All of this is psychic powers. Because essentially, you might look at your life, well, that's some stupid ass shit. And then I'm saying, well, that's kind of the point. You're utilizing all your psychic energy for some stupid ass shit. So if you already know, why don't you ask yourself what it is you should be doing as opposed to imagining you already know when you obviously don't know, if you haven't created the life that you truly desire. You need to move closer to yourself, closer to your knower. Within you, there is a knower. Within you, there is a truth. And if you do not get closer to it, it's a wrap. Now, riddle me this. I like to ask y'all questions because I love y'all critical thinking abilities. It makes me make sense of this shit, right? So I just want in the chat, A or B. Would you want to perpetually get closer to God day by day within yourself as a rule, as a priority, A? Or B, would you want to sign up for a 3-day retreat with all of your favorite gurus hawking hot mumbo jumbo down your throat for 3 days for $5,000? Would that bring you closer to God, or would that just be a comfortable situation? A or B? Hot lava, getting closer to God perpetually, daily, as a rule, as a priority. And if you forget, you should do what I'm doing. I read the book twice. I took notes. I talked about it in the mystery school. And I'm doing this video. And then I'm going to put all of the videos that I did together. And then I'm going to watch them all and take notes on my videos. Because that's how serious it is to me. And then in every conversation, I want to persistently build my relationship with my inner God. When we are uncomfortable, we have access to our God within. I did not know that I had the abilities that I had when I was comfortable in my home, relaxing, watching some b-ball outside of the school, right? It took a couple of guys who were up to no good to start making trouble in my neighborhood. I got one big fight and my mom got scared and said, "You moving with your dad in the projects of Boston." Right? So, I don't know where that came from. Shout out to Will Smith. Virgo energy. Big Virgo energy. Big cut energy. Not one grand gesture, but many small victories. So, a lot of people, when I start talking about spirituality, I can feel it within their bones. I can feel it within their core, their being. They want me to shoot some fire out my ass crack. And I'm just like, listen, it's not that kind of spirituality. So they like, all right, just make fire with your hands then. Okay, you say you're a magician, pull a rabbit out of a hat. And I'll be like, cash merch available at ColumbianExchange.com. What? No, not that kind of, okay. So they want this big grand gesture of spirituality. So you might look at a dude. I done seen a nigga walk around with an big as a dog. I mean, a huge ass Like, damn, is you generating electricity with that motherfucker? I know you spiritual, nigga. Your too huge for you not to be spiritual. Like, you feel me? So it's like, it's not one big grand gesture. Like I said, would you do A or would you do B? And if you choose A, then you take many small victories of you perpetually moving towards transformation. And you don't quit saying, all right, I've been on this transformation journey for a while, hood. Whatever. I don't feel like the big thing has happened. Well, we wasn't never going for big shit, sis, bro. We was going for many small victories of connecting to the knower. So if you get a bag of chips and they end up being the chips that hit hard for that day, that's a small victory. Because you didn't know whether you was going to get Popeyes today or Rallies. Spirit said, why don't you just eat a goddamn carrot? And you chose a carrot, that's a small victory. Because you've been going hard on the fast food and the DoorDash and shit like that. So if you took one day to drink some water and a carrot, that's a small victory, bro, sis, whoever I'm talking to. Somebody DM me the other day like, "Hi, Mr. Hood, but do you know me, or do my brother or sister be calling you and telling you about my business? Because I don't think that that's okay." I'm like, sis, I just be fooling. Like, I don't be talking to, because she was like, my baby's father's name is Jermaine. And I'm like, oh God. Oh God. I said, I'm so sorry. That was the first name that popped up in my head. It just seems like for the past couple of weeks you've been talking about me, and I just want to know. And I'm just like, no, sis, I'm not talking about you. I promise. Okay. I'm sorry, Jermaine. My DMs is the stuff of legends, I promise you. But I digress. So, these many small victories outside of your out of your comfort zone. You're not waiting for that viral moment. You're not waiting for your savior to come save you from the amazing abyss which your life is falling in because you created it out of seeking comfort. You're not waiting for Fashion Nova to endorse you. You're not waiting for this grand thing. And if you do want Fashion Nova to endorse you, you take small steps towards that in creating the aesthetic or aura to attract that. So these small victories, these small steps will awaken your natural divine nature, but not the spiritual action, but the uncomfortable action. So say for instance, you got a spiritual routine, right? And it's very comfortable, right? And it's very like your spiritual routine is the stuff made for legends and you feel good about it. You know what you need to do with that spiritual routine? Take it, ball it up in the trash, and shoot it like Steph Curry. Or take that same spiritual routine and do it in front of people. Like Dreamwise was saying yesterday in the live. Do your spiritual routine at the park while people was walking by. Well, Hood, that's uncomfortable. Oh, Hood, I'm uncomfortable doing that. You only want to do your spirituality in the dark? You who okay, let's talk about this. Who told y'all that y'all spirituality had to be hidden and not like never in the space of the form of like, why is it that everybody knows you as who you are, but nobody knows you as a spiritual person? But you call yourself a spiritual person. But your parents and people close to you, they don't get to see that side of you. Well, this is all centered in you being uncomfortable versus you being comfortable. So you have to move into a place where you are uncomfortable in your spirituality if you want it to hit. So y'all be talking to me. Anybody I talk to or reading to me, I'd be like, why don't you start a YouTube page? Well, I don't know about that. And da 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 da. I'm not saying start a YouTube page so you can go viral. I'm just saying to get over whatever the fuck you got in you to just make you feel like you can't speak. When you clearly have a voice and you clearly need to work on it and you clearly need to listen to yourself so you can get into a point where you can speak clearly to the universe, clearly to your partner, clearly to your children, you got to practice. So the author goes in to say, if you're reading this book and you're not uncomfortable, then the book ain't worth shit. The design of this book is to make you feel uncomfortable, and becoming like God is for you to be uncomfortable. Because uncomfortability is the gateway to divinity, according to the author. So my analogy, how I understood it, comfort and surety is only as spiritual as it provides the comfort and surety. But riddle me this, Batman, Batwoman, Catwoman, Catman. What do you do when it is no longer comfortable or when you're no longer sure? Oh, then you go batshit crazy, huh? What if you never got into a relationship based upon comfort and the surety? What if you got into a relationship based on unconditional love? And when you're ready for that, then you have learned. But if you're not ready for that, you just haven't learned shit. And you will come back again. That's the hardest lesson. When you see a multitude of men and women sit in they fucking high-rise apartments with their arms folded as if somebody is supposed to love them, and that's not even love. That's a whole nother word that you gotta completely let go. Love is a particular action where you're giving unconditionally, and that's what you come down here to learn. But you learn it by loving yourself unconditionally. And once you are sure within yourself, then you are spiritual. But you don't become sure within yourself without exposing yourself to uncomfortable situations. Comfort is an illusion and it is an attack. And the problem with comfort being an illusion and an attack, it doesn't feel like it. Because you have no knowledge of the soul, you only have knowledge of the body. The reason that you're upset, the reason why you can't find peace is because you do not tune into your soul. Once you tune into your soul, you will find freedom. You will find healing. You will find purpose. And then you will find love because you will be able to give. You will have something to give. The heart of misguided people is almost. And I translated that to almost doesn't count because I listen to Brandy a lot. When you listen to Brandy, you look at life a whole different way. This is a fact. I think we call it Brandianians. I just made that up. Don't mind me. One is never done becoming like God because it is a constant climb to your divinity. There is no middle. You are choosing the divine within or nothing at all. I'll change the words up a little bit. You choose the God within or you don't choose shit. You talking about, what are you talking about? Hold on. You want me to wait till you deal with some other shit until you get to the divine within? How do you get into a level of uncomfortability? You thank the moments that you are uncomfortable. If you at work and then they asking for somebody to speak, your ass should be the first one to say whatever the hell it is that you need to say. You should not be at work acting like anything other. You need to listen. If you ain't at work doing magic, that's what you got to use it for. But you got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You got to put yourself out there. And essentially, it's going to be people that make you feel uncomfortable. You got to learn to thank them. You got to learn to be grateful for those opportunities that you were uncomfortable to where you had the gateway or the access to your divinity. So since there is no middle ground, and since you are choosing the divine within over all things, when you choose the divine within, you get used to going the extra mile. You get used to doing extra shit. You get used to giving unconditionally. You get used to being perpetual. You get used to being consistent. You get used to being accountable. You get used to being reliable because you're not there for what you can receive. Because you understand the difference between love and you understand the difference between limerence. You understand that you let go of limerence. You understand that you let go of your need to feel good, to be comfortable, to have an easy life. Because in reference to what I thought an easy life would consist of, I realized that an easy life generally consists of a life of working in a manner for which you want to work. That's an easy life. But you don't forego the work part. Okay? So this is the perpetual ladder that he writes in the book. So he never talks about the Kabbalah. He never talks about the tree of life. So essentially he alludes to it though. He has 10 rungs. one rung being malcuth and the 10th rung being kether. I'll explain this at the end. It could be flipped. One is one and 10 is one. That's the same thing. We'll explain that a little later. But why should you accept the divine? Why should you tap into the divine energy within yourself? Because there is a treasure at the top of the ladder, aka kether. If you stop after a long journey, you may have a long journey. The world may feel you have been on a long journey, but if you stop before you have reached the treasure, you have done nothing. So I'm sorry to tell you, if you buy a home, you get a mortgage, you pay that mortgage off. If you get a business, a real estate business, and you make millions of dollars, if you started from the bottom and you manifest everything that you wish to manifest, but you have not accessed the divine within, you have done nothing. There is no days off in the becoming of God. When should I do it? When should I be tuned into my divine energy? Like on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays? Is them good days to tune in? No. 7 days a week, 8 days a week, 365 days a year, all the time, every day, all day, you tune into yourself. The author, Michael Berg, he also talks about distractions. In the book, he says, distractions are insanity. Distractions are like watching TV while the house burns down. Because there's a war going on within you and you're not able to fight that war. And when I start, and if I say obliterate the ego, you say, why, Hood? Why I need to do that? What's the reason for that? I'll do anything but that. So when you dealing with the ego will have you distracted. It'll have you watching TV. It'll have you absorbing energy that you don't need to absorb. It's always work to do. It's always purpose. It's always connections. It's always opportunities where you can find yourself to be uncomfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, you're also present. And when you're present, you're tuned in and tapped in. Now, what's the problem? I talk to my son about this all the time. He be walking and he like to look back and check where I'm at or check where his mom is at. And then when he start looking back, he start running in and shit. He start falling. And I'll be like, hey, you can't, like, I'm not trying to be mean or nothing, but you can't walk forward and look back. If you need to look back, stop walking. Right? But in reference to your life and moving forward, that's what another reason, like, if I'm feeling down, then I'm down. Leave me the fuck alone. I'll feel better later, but just let me feel this. Let me embrace this downness that I'm feeling, because I'm not going to be fake. If I'm negative, I'm gonna be all the way negative, because the negativity is going to wear off, and then I'll come back the next day even better. But if I try to balance it, I'll make the shit worse. I'll start saying shit, start doing shit, and it just ain't even worth it. So not being distracted is so key to tuning in to your God within. But it's not even a point, like, when I'm talking about this for a majority of people, because when it comes to distractions, that's the rule, right? But distractions are insanity. So what does that say about the rule? Most people are fucking insane, but they'll look at me like I'm insane. So I guess touche. All right. There are many things that are like becoming like God, but if they do not lead to complete transformation, if they do not lead to immortality, if they do not lead to a life where death does not exist, then they are completely pointless. So if you go to a retreat and the lecturers are speaking that hot mumbo jumbo fresh off the presses, it's nothing that you can do. Right? It's nothing that you can do. Ain't no change that's been made. You just out of $3,000 off the weekend. And a weekend that you'll never get back. Because the ultimate transformation happens with you. And it happens when you are consistent with yourself. Doesn't matter if all of the men, it doesn't matter if you get a BBL and all of the men say, girl, you is the finest girl I ever seen in my life. You about a damn angel goddess out here in these streets. Can I give you some money? What's your cash app, girl? completely pointless if it does not lead to transformation. And when we speak about caterpillars, we're talking about chrysalis, right? Chrysalis, right? This is the cocoon phase. But as you can see, the cocoon is hanging from the branch. He lives his caterpillar life, and then he's hanging from the branch. And when I seen this, I seen Christ, and I seen him hanging. I thought about Odin. That's what it looked like to me. But when a caterpillar is born, it is his duty, it is his priority to become a butterfly. It is not his duty and priority to stay as a caterpillar. So us as black people, us as human beings, us as white people, Chinese people, Puerto Ricans, whatever classification you find yourself identifying with, that's caterpillar shit, fam. You need to hang that shit up, go into a cocoon, because once you're a butterfly, you become a monarch, a king, divine, a ruler. And it's never a point where the caterpillar is in reference to the butterfly. It's a whole different organism. However, the caterpillar's purpose, its whole purpose, was to become a butterfly. So your whole purpose, and the purpose of becoming a butterfly is an internal transformation. It is a complete and utter transformation that we have the ability to, but we have no example other than people like Jesus. People like that, right? Who either exists or don't exist. We ain't never seen it because in reference to the God force energy, what religion has done is externalized it. Now you have to read a Bible to transform, but you don't even have the access to transform. Only Jesus can transform. It is only one Christ. But in reference to the reality of the Bible, ye are gods. So the deeper aspect of being God is learning transformation. It is not to get a new pair of leggings and show off for these little boys, young ladies. That's negative energy. If every boy tells you how beautiful you are, tell them to kiss your ass. It's not going to matter. You are here to divine and elevate, because that's caterpillar shit. Only a caterpillar have a fat ass. He needs to be complimenting you on your wings. Okay? Being good is a barrier to being God. Average meets average, but extreme darkness is met with extreme light. So if you are like me and experience extreme darkness, that is also a gateway for you to tap into your extreme light. What will generally happen is that you won't have anything on the external to focus on. And so because you don't have anything on the external to focus on, you focus intently on the internal. And this leads to chrysalis or transformation. This leads to the runes in Nordic mythology. Odin hung upside down for 9 days. And then he was gifted the runes. And the runes were the precursor to the alphabet. It was his ability to communicate with the gods and manifest things at the highest level, because he had connection with his higher self, because he was able. And if you see him hanging upside down, it's almost like he's forcing his lower self through gravity to attach to his higher self. And he stood like this for 9 days as a symbol of your lower self coming one with your higher self. And then when you flip upside down and live the normal life, you have a different type of consciousness. And if you have this consciousness, you are transformed, because you no longer think the way that you thought. So the difference between hearing all of the conscious information and applying it is that when you go into a relationship, you're going into it as a god, as a goddess, as opposed to going into it as a person that needed something from somebody. It feels so powerful to not need from somebody, to just want to give to you, right? And to be conscious of that. To make a choice of who I want to love, how I want to love them, and not say, I'm gonna love you, but you owe me $50. Can I stay on your couch since I gave you this love? So let's continue. The weapons of war. These are the weapons that help us get out of the prison known as ego life. So what is the prison? The prison is a separation from source, the fact that we are never escaping reality. So if you want a picture of what this looks like, we can look at the tree of life. So this is the mountain. This is the mountain. You can see the like pyramid apex shape mountain. This is where we come from. This is where we are. So essentially, life, happiness, joy, benefit, positive energy is us attaching to this. And this wants that, and that wants this, and we need to meet somewhere in the middle, or we just need to walk the whole way. It doesn't matter. But essentially, we're getting to the crux of our higher self. And we're not doing it sometimes. We're not figuring, well, I had to work today, so I forgot about my higher self. That shit is dead. It is a priority. It is a need. It is a focus. And you don't say, I was tuning into my higher self because Hood told me to. No, you tune into your higher self because you fucking desire it, like you desired Jermaine's ass that one night when you was going off that Hennessy. And you was sending them text messages. That's how you need to want your higher self. You need to sex your higher self. I want you, daddy. Right? So, in this prison of separation from source, the fact is that you'll never escape this reality. You'll never get into a space where you're too comfortable that you don't have to tap into your divine self. You're never that comfortable. Okay? Never that comfortable. My fault, I got a text message. My bad. Okay. In this prison of separation from source, the fact is that you are never escaping the reality. You're never escaping the reality that you are in this situation called life, and you have this higher self, and you know not about it, and you looking for everything as far as comfort, as far as money, as far as success, as far as friendships, as far as notoriety, as far as business, as far as clients, as far as all of this shit. And do you ever put that same energy and effort to your soul? Right? Because you absolutely have to escape. And the escape of it is either you are connecting with source or you are not. There is no middle ground. There is no halfway point. And the reason why is because within us is a war that exists, a parasitic entity that is called the ego. And its ultimate goal is to lead you to death. And it doesn't kill you instantly, family. It doesn't kill you like that. It takes a hold of you. It gives you habits. It gives you vices. It gives you ignorance. And it gives you that, and it tells you to feed those things daily, right? So now you're doing a whole bunch of stupid shit. You're doing a whole bunch of selfish shit. And what do you look like? You look reactive. You look mechanical. You look like a puppet on a string. What is a puppet on a string? Why are you going to get mad if somebody say something that you don't agree with? And you don't even know why you agree with it, nor do you understand why the person said what they said. They could have did research to come to a complete, utter opposing view. And generally, They could be right, nor they could be wrong, but you mad about it. You angry about it. They need to be stopped. They shouldn't be saying that because they lying, right? Your anger is because it's like you being a puppet on the string. Because if you ask anybody before they get angry, do you want to get angry? They say, no, I don't want to get angry. I want to handle this situation. And then they start to get triggered. And now they fucking furious. You don't even know who this person is. That is the ego. That is the opponent. And if you don't fucking kill that mother, you gotta destroy it. Cause what it'll do, it'll show up in relationship. It'll show up against your kids. It'll show up everywhere. Everywhere. If they say the wrong thing, now you whooping their ass. Boy, didn't I tell you? What you, right? Whooping them, right? And you don't want to kill that person inside of you that'll whoop your kids and beat your kids' ass like that? You don't want to get rid of that person that ruined every single relationship you get in because you can't handle when you get jealous? You don't want to get rid of that motherfucker? Think about it. You like being jealous and angry and mean and all of this stuff? You want to justify and come up with ideologies instead of killing that ego, huh? I hear you. Sounding good, too. What does it look like when we become like God? How do we know the difference? How do we know that this person is not a puppet on the string when this person is proactive, spontaneous, and autonomous, meaning they are doing the things that they want to do when they want to do it because they are free? When you are reactive, mechanical, and a puppet on the string, you can't help but to get angry. You justified it, rationalized it, read books on it, got clinically diagnosed. So when it went down, it just went down. He know I take medicine. He know I'm crazy. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation, so I'm going to keep going. The back and forth battle never ends until we make the choice to become like God. So how are some weapons to help us defeat that character? How do we create the weapons that defeat the character within themselves? Because within yourself is the ultimate problem. And if you are not a big girl, if you are not a big boy, if you are not a man, if you're not a woman, if you are not an adult to take accountability for the energies within yourself that need to be wrangled, then essentially you will continuously find yourselves in situations that you've created and that you've attracted because you haven't gone to war with yourself. You yourself is the victory hero of the shit, the star of the show. Can't do no wrong. And essentially, this is the ego. This ginger got me on. Woo! Feed me, Seymour. My kids watched The Little Shop of Horrors from beginning to end. I was so happy. Like, y'all is like me too. Y'all just like me, because that was my movie. When your kids like the things that you like when you was their age, that's a whole nother level of connection that I don't even know what to say. So what are the weapons of war that we could use against the opponent? Recognition. When you recognize that it is you, recognition breeds urgency. And once you recognize the fact that you are acting on behalf of a parasitic entity known as the ego, you don't say, well, how should I balance the ego with dealing with the soul? You don't balance the ego with the soul. You go towards the soul perpetually. Because balancing the ego with the soul will have you spending $4,000 at a lecture and having a whole bunch of people hawk hot lava down your throat and shit that don't matter Because when you leave that lecture, when you leave the goddamn resort or whatever the case may be, you will have to continuously move closer to God. But you know what people do after they go to a lecture? They start to tell you about the lecture that they went through. Then nobody even ask. You was sitting here talking about goddamn Costa Rica. I went to a resort in Costa Rica. Such and such was holding it. We meditated, we hold hands, and we looked at the ocean. It was so powerful. How much you spend? $8,000, room and board and food. I had to pay for my food too, so I ended up spending like 12. It was so amazing though. Sounds like a hustle to me, sis, but keep spending your money on those resorts. I'm gonna spend nothing and perpetually move closer to God through my actions. I'm going to share with y'all. I'm going to grow with y'all. I'm going to make sure that y'all are growing. I'm not going to just be like, you know what? I figured it out. Y'all can kiss my ass. What a lot of spiritual people have done after they took y'all money. After they took y'all money, they said, fuck y'all. Ask about your favorite spiritual. Why y'all be putting out videos like you used to? Because they rich and they told y'all to kiss their ass, if you haven't noticed by now. What you thought those $100 classes every week, that shit was adding up and stacking up. They wasn't teaching y'all shit. Because the shit that I'm teaching, the shit that I'm telling you carries more weight than anything that anybody has ever said to you, ever. Your perpetual need to get closer to your divine energy is all you need. And anything outside of that is a waste of fucking time. It is a distraction. See, it's so simple that it's hard for you to grasp how fucking simple it is. As a child, you refused to accept death and suffering. If you was anything like me, I don't know. Some people have a propensity for death. They want death and they seek death and they attract death. I'm the opposite. I already felt this way, but reading this book, I accepted that I feel this way and I'm okay with sharing it. I refuse to accept death and suffering within my life and those people that I love. This is Becoming Like God by Michael Berg. The link is in the chat. So utilizing the God formula, which was chapter 6, clarity, focus on the ultimate goal. It's because I'm saying it, I know, but really simple shit. Be so clear on the God within, be so focused on it, and let that be your ultimate goal. Meditate on your higher self. Don't worry about what you have or don't have. Let things take care of themselves and move forward in this truth. Do you get rid of the ego? No, but you notice when the ego is receiving for the self alone and you rise up and you fight against that at all terms. You might buy, when we was talking in the mystery school yesterday, Chica gave a wonderful example. She said, if I buy a sandwich, I might not be buying this sandwich for me. I might walk to somebody walking down the street in New York City and somebody just might ask me for that sandwich. And I got to give it to him. And then I looked at the homeless people at the crossroads and I said, oh shit, these is issues. I better have my offerings or I might have a bad day. Or I might have an unfavorable experience. See, if I'm looking at them as homeless people, I'm not in my mythology. But if I'm in my mythology, I know that Ishu is a trickster figure. And I know that you meet him at the crossroads. So when I'm at a stoplight and the homeless person is at my door asking for change, I gotta have dollars in my car now. Because if I don't have my offering for eating, it's just me. This is just how I give it up. I'm very sincere when it comes to my offerings and my givings to spirit, to water, to people, to energies, and they use these homeless people as vessels, and they use these homeless people as tests. Okay? So if you're looking at this shit from the ego, like I'm gonna keep all of my shit for myself, you're not going to get it, and you're going to be looking for it. Okay? That's the issue. Of course, yeah, I don't have to do that, hood. I can just worry about myself, but at the same time, You're not going to ask me. You're going to then just ask somebody down the block. Meaning you're not solving shit by asking this person, that person, listen to this person, that person. Essentially, the only way that you solve it is when you be certain that you can and will become like God through your actions. What are these actions? We avoid comfort like the plague. We stay away from the death trap of comfort and plunging gladly into discomfort. Gladly giving a homeless man $2. On every aspect, at every turn, we are shattering the ego and we are turning into and tuning into the God within. Why we have to be perpetual with this, why we have to be constant with this is because almost doesn't count. Y'all heard the Brandy song. Y'all jam to it. Now live it. Understand it in life. Almost does not count. And you cannot determine what another person is or isn't going to do. Don't take this information and saying, oh, my kids need to hear this. No, sis, you need to hear this. Oh, my mama need to hear this. No, bro, you need to hear this. Because you're so quick to help somebody else, but have you fully realized the God within yourself? Yes, Hood, I realized the God within myself 10 years ago. Then you haven't realized the God within yourself. The God within yourself is a perpetual daily understanding that grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and expands and expands and expands, and it leads to ultimate transformation. Transformation to be like, what are you offering the people? What are you giving freely to the people? Well, I have this business that I'm running. You ain't giving nobody shit for nothing if I got to give you money, and that's fair exchange. I gave you money, you gave me a good. That's nothing. What have you given to the people that you didn't want anything in return for? Well, I've never done nothing like that. Well, you have never been in your God form. Now, up to this point, this is chapter 9, 10, whatever. If you believe this information, you would have changed by now. Once I read chapter 1 and 2, my whole life changed. Because I was persistent and I wasn't afraid to share. I wasn't afraid to do or follow my intuition. I wasn't afraid to love my wife or my children. It was a game changer for me. But if you thinking that I'm talking about everybody but you, because we homeboys, or you got a reading from me a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago, and you don't need no tune-up, you are fucking out of your mind. I'm here doing this work like I ain't had shit. You understand? This is the shit that I used to do when I ain't have no money. I got money, and I'm still giving it up the same way I did when I didn't have shit. The donations is up in this corner. You have to be certain that you can become like God. You have to be certain that the inner joy has to be found within you so you can actually seek to find it. Because the same energy and fervorance that you give into everything outside of you, your career, your business, your friendship, your aesthetic, is the same energy that your soul needs. But you give it to him, you don't give it to him. Or him or her, or whatever. Look, no gender. If you don't think you can become like God, then you won't. However, if you are certain that you will live forever, if you can bear witness to a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly, just rest on that thought. Say it is possible. Trust it. Gain trust. Learn trust, because this is what we are doing. We are transforming. And we are not trying to bring the caterpillar energy, the human energy, into our transformation, into our angelic presence. It is not necessary. We are in the process of living forever. We are in the process of doing something that human beings have never done, but it's from being in a space of understanding yourself so deeply, following yourself so intently, and getting so uncomfortable and following yourself that you are in a space where you are able to give and see the results of receiving. Because I know you think about this and you get triggered. Well, if I'm uncomfortable and I'm giving, then I'm going to be fucked up. Well, you've been selfish and been doing this evenly scaled this whole entire time. And guess what? Your ass is fucked up anyway. So it's time to do something different. But essentially, all of this information that I'm putting out, it means nothing at all if you don't read the book, if you don't take the notes, if you don't understand it for yourself. And I tell you, you can read this whole book in one day, okay? With notes. If you got a highlighter, you can read this book in 3 hours. And it'll change you. Because it'll bring you to an understanding of what needs to be done. And it simplifies the Kabbalistic ways and the technology of the Kabbalah. What is the technology of the Kabbalah? The human being connecting with his higher self. Because when the human beings connect with the higher self then tells the human being exactly what it needs to do. So if you do not connect with the higher self, you get the law of attraction or cause and effect, and you trying to figure out what exactly that you want, but you don't really want that shit. What you really want is to connect with your higher self so you can know exactly what you want so you can be bold enough to go get it. However, when it comes to the ego, the opponent, the desire to receive for the self alone is that you do not hate it enough to shatter it. You want to take some of this caterpillar life with you into transformation, but transformation is transformation, almost does not count. You have to be committed to the transformation of connecting to your higher self. And if you haven't done it yet, you probably won't do it. Is to be perpetual in that doing so. Miss Radiant says, thank you so much. Gang Stalking Simulation, thank you for the donation. Revealing my true face, appreciate the donation. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. In reference to, I'm glad that this information resonates with you as it resonates with me at the deepest, corest, transformative, at the deepest level I can hardly explain. So our work is not found in getting rid of the ego. We must see our ego. We must see our negativity, because seeing our negativity, noticing our negativity is synonymous with expelling our negativity. When you see yourself at fault, when you see yourself at blame, you cannot live with that. The problem is we never see fault within ourselves. We will argue with our partners till this goddamn vein pop out in the middle of our forehead, as opposed to seeing the negativity within ourselves and getting rid of that, so maybe you could look at the partner in a different light. Because here you are with somebody that gave you the sweet gushy, and now you sitting there arguing with them. That has to be something within yourself that you haven't got rid of. Because ain't nobody going to give you the sweet gushy and hate you at the same time. Have a conversation with you, date you, really like your ass. You know, when you do readings, they be really liking y'all on the first, second, third date. But since that man does not deal with the energy within himself, he then begins to expel that negativity and project his negativity on you. Or vice versa. The way for men and women to get out of this in relationships is to get into the modality of sharing. Getting out of the ego, because essentially sharing is unnatural and is a violation to the ego. It is a complete violation to receiving for the self alone. There are women who would not do anything for a man just as a cold. Like, I would never do nothing for a man. And then on the vice versa is men who would think like that and he'd be called a pimp, but I digress. Becoming like God, one must behave like God. And behaving like God is found in sharing. It is not found in receiving for the self alone. So you might confide in me, and you might think that I'll feed into what your personal reception of what you need is going. I'm not going to speak to that. I'm going to speak to your desire to share. And if you do not have a desire to share, then you are not attempting to tap into your greatest joy or your desire to become like God. The more we share, the closer we get to God. The more uncomfortable we are with sharing, the faster we get there. So I'll give you an example. I started this YouTube page. That is me sharing. Now, I didn't really want to do videos, and I always feel like split about it, right? But having that feeling and saying I'm gonna do it anyway, it was easier for my channel to grow. And I found something that I loved. I found something that I really enjoyed. But imagine, like, before anybody who never done YouTube before, once you start up a page, you got no subscribers. You got 0 subscribers. You put out a video, it don't get no views. So that's anybody. That's very uncomfortable. But for me, it was the fast track. Because it gave me something to study. It gave me something to learn. It gave me something to understand. It gave me something to focus on. It gave me something to grow. And essentially, it has helped me. But in reference to, I'm not saying YouTube is for everybody, but you need to figure out a modality that you're giving to people. You're not wanting for something in return, but you're doing the thing, you're giving the thing because you love it. And if you're not there yet, then you need to get there, essentially. Because any theology, any type of literature, any type of ideology that's giving you the game and telling you, oh, this is going to be for you, and this is going to work for you, and you're going to receive for the self alone, they are skimming you and they are scamming you, because they're going to take your money, and then you're going to possibly get what you want or not get what you want, but you're not going to be happy. But if you get what you want and you pay for it, you can't even be mad at the person that skimmed you or scammed you, because you got what you want, but you didn't get what you truly desired, which is to get connected to your soul. So how do you get connected to your soul? According to the author, share unreasonably, unexpectedly, when it goes against your nature. So we let go of these physical prisons easily. Share with conscious intent of becoming closer to God, not for positive reinforcements. So when we are sharing, we're not sharing to low-key get something in return, to hope to get something indirectly. We are sharing specifically with the intent to get closer to God, because this is God's nature. Okay? And when do we do this? We do this now. We have to stay present. Okay? If you are talking about what happened yesterday, if you're talking about what possibly could happen in the future, you are not present. And once you are not present, you are out of alignment. So to stay in alignment, seek discomfort to get rid of the ego. This is counterintuitive to anything you ever heard before. This is why you got to read the book and get to the point where I'm at, where I understand it. Because if you're not reading a book and getting the context and getting the build up, then essentially, even if you read the book one time but didn't take notes, or read the fucking audiobook, reading an audiobook is not reading. Reading an audiobook is like driving down the street and imagine you know every goddamn address. Unless you got photographic memory, you wasting your time reading an audiobook. You might as well listen to Future. You'll get more downloads from it. I mean, audiobooks ain't pointless or worthless. I mean, they're good to listen to as you go to sleep, and if you like just driving down the street. Or if you got a photographic memory, you can retain audio, like you got an audiographic memory and things like that. It might be good for you. But in a sense, if you're trying to retain knowledge, you need to get a physical copy of the book and take notes. So how the hell you gonna be holding the tablet on the laptop taking notes all at the same time? Just get a book and a notepad, sit your ass down, put the electronics down, and take the pen to pad and really retain and grasp information, because I told you I'm just skimming the surface of this book. And it might seem like I got a lot of information in reference to the book, but it's more information into it. So it's a whole little ass book with a whole bunch of knowledge. She didn't waste a word. But essentially, you have to understand it. I'm just giving you the motivation, and this is like a light. I'm being light about it. It feels heavy, but I'm light. Seek discomfort, get rid of the ego, confront selfishness, and share now. Don't wait. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it now. Learn to recognize or hate the ego. Share ridiculously now. Simple things. Then he starts to get into the Zohar. He starts off the Zohar with a little like saying. He has these like things in like italics where he is explaining certain stories and stuff like that. Some of them you might skip, some of them you might read. If I'm reading a nonfiction book, I don't really like reading stories. That's just me. But in this particular story I read because it was very interesting. This is essentially what I tell people to do all the time when things get tough, but he simplified it and he called it the Kabbalah, right? And I didn't even know that I was telling people to do the Kabbalah, but here it goes. Baal Shem Tov, which is the great rabbi, right, will go to a particular place in the forest, light a fire, and say a special prayer. Then a miracle would occur and the misfortune would be removed. Okay? Why can't you do that? Why can't you go into a forest, light a fire, say a special prayer, and work for miracles? Now, it's countless of people that I've talked to that I know that this shit works. Now, if you don't have a persistent application of doing ritual and magic, then you do not actually know what's going on. You have to be persistent with your practice, and this is how you become like God. Ritual. He also has something in a book. I'm just kind of glimpsing over this, but it's something worth checking out, where he starts talking about the giants who left these portals. Now, the giants that I know are the giants of the mounds who've been found and uncovered, straight up giants, right? That been uncovered at these mounds. So I'm saying that go into these mounds, light a fire, say a special prayer, and watch miracles happen. Y'all know me. That's how I give it up. So if y'all ever got a problem in life, I'm going to say it one more time. Go to a particular place in the forest, light a fire, say a special prayer, wait for a miracle. Live your life. Then he starts to talk about, he doesn't start talking about the Kabbalah, but I inferred that he was talking about the Kabbalah based on my study. And so from the Kabbalah, from what I know, which is kind of abstract, kind of mumbo jumbo mixed around, he had it very simple. It begins with the mountain, kether. So what is kether? This is kether. Kether is signified by the number 1. It ends with the rock. This is the rock. So the rock is malcuth, and malcuth is identified by number 10. So 1 and 10. 1 plus 0 is 1, which equals to this top. So the top is equated to the bottom. As above, so below. As within, so without. Rocks are just pieces of a mountain, identical in essence, existing only by virtue of separation. Human beings are pieces of God or the goddess or our ultimate joy, identical in essence, only by virtue of separation. So malcuth, being you, is separated from kether, being the top of the pyramid, the top of the mountain. So essentially, would you think it's smart as malcuth to just go further in the abyss, or would you think it'd be better to go within and rise and raise the kundalini up to the crown chakra and keep this thing going? Like rocks longing to merge again with the mountain, humans long to return to the god or goddess within. The last chapter, and I'll send you guys home. The ocean of tears for all of the people. And this is a very quick, I'm going to end it on something very quick. I'm not going to get into the last chapter because it's very much of, once you figured it out and understood it, you can't really repeat it, but so much, even though you need to constantly repeat it within the book, he just kind of, drop some other science, drop some other jewels. But becoming like God demands you to obliterate the separation between malcuth and kether. What is your job down here? Is to unite malcuth and kether, because essentially malcuth and kether are the same. The only difference is that they are being separated. Okay? Becoming like God demands you to obliterate this separation. We must become one with the God within. How do we get there? How do we get to a point of sharing? How do we get to a point of removing the desire to receive for the self alone? Well, it's very simple. If you follow my channel, you know I'm very big on this word, compassion. Compassion for life, compassion for everywhere, compassion for everyone. Because there cannot be any spiritual growth without compassion. But what is compassion? Compassion is quite simply suffering with another. It is calm, with, together, empathy, to suffer. So together we suffer, okay? And this is the reality of becoming like God. There is no personal success in becoming like God. You got to understand that. As long as you're sharing, the reason why you're sharing is because you can't become God like yourself, by yourself. If the greatest thing happens to you and you don't share it, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Almost doesn't count. So, great book. I hope y'all read it. I'm just doing my share for the day because that's part of my daily mythos. But this book helped me create and curate my daily mythos. The next book that we will be doing is a short book, but a powerful book. It will be The Science of Being Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Please join the Mystery School. I got all of the links there. We had a wonderful talk about this book last night. It was profound. We talked for about 2 hours, and man, everybody was just, it was just a wonderful share. I can't wait for everybody else to join and, make this group a wonderful group. So the links are in the description. Thank y'all for watching this video. I'll be uploading a compilation of all of the chapters in one video. Hopefully you are getting closer to the God within, and you are removing the distractions, and you are realizing and prioritizing your divinity. That is my goal. That is my hopes. That is my wishes for putting out this content, is for you personally to get closer to the God and Goddess within. If you do that, please be sure to like this video, share this video, put a comment on this video, help out the algorithms if you would. But with that being said,